In this 3-hour SEO tutorial, I'm going to take you from beginner to pro and how to rank in the AI search engines, getting you organic traffic that converts into leads and sales. This is for business owners trying to do their own SEO or freelancers looking to offer this as a service. I've been in SEO and marketing for over 10 years, and now I run a community with over 500 business owners and agency owners where we teach them how to rank #1 in Google AI overviews, GPT search, and Perplexity. What you'll learn here isn't just theory. This comes from experience and tried and tested strategies that we know work, because when we show some of our students, like Steven, they end up getting 99 booked appointments every single month from organic traffic alone. He hasn't paid a single cent in ads. By the end of this video, these are all the things you will learn and know how to execute. For full transparency, my intention here is to provide you with as much value as possible so you know how to do your own SEO, with the hopes that should you want to get a little bit more serious and want more support, you come and join us in our premium community. All the assets that I'll mention will be available for free inside our free community, and I'll leave a link to that in the video description below. Let's get started. First, I want to get started by ensuring that we all understand what is SEO in 2025 and what does this landscape look like and why it's important to you. And I think the best way to start this off is by answering the question that I get probably on a daily basis, and that is SEO dead? Which is a fair enough question. The simple answer here is absolutely not. But it is evolving, and this complex answer of how it's evolving is what we're going to answer at the moment, and why it's still critically important for you to understand and execute correctly. I think the change can be summarized in this slide here. It may seem very simple, but the consequences of this change are huge. And essentially that is that the tools we used to go on the internet before were search engines. And now they're no longer search engines, they are answer engines. They're also called generative engines, by the way, GO. And essentially, to understand the difference is that before the goal, or when you used to go to a search engine, you would type a keyword, for example, how to do SEO, and Google or the other search engine would bring you the first link in which you would find your answer, or it would suggest the best link for you to go through and then yourself find the answer. Whereas the answer engines, or the generative engines, they do the crawling for you from the highest quality sources, mostly everything in the first page of that search result, read everything and summarize and give you the answer for you, right? That's the main fundamental change. I'm sure you've done that. And whether that's with Google AI or GPT search or Perplexity, you've had this experience already. Which means a couple of things. One is that there are a lot more options now. This tends to be a good thing for the end user, but we have Google AI overviews. We now have GPT search. We have Perplexity, Claude, Copilot. Essentially, any large language model with access to the internet is something that we want to optimize for. Now, it needs to be said that Google has its own search engine, obviously Google. So that's what Google AI overviews and Google AI mode is using. GPT search should be using Bing, right? The Microsoft search engine. And then Perplexity and Claude, they all have their different things. I'm not actually quite sure what Claude is using. So we kind of need to optimize for different search engines as well. Now, this is great, but what does it actually mean for us? And really, fundamentally, it means the traffic is down, right? And this is just the new reality. There's no sense in panicking and pushing that red button and giving up. But that's just the new reality. The traffic is going to continue going down probably as well. This is a screenshot from a website that used to be getting probably the second most amount of traffic in the world, and it was HubSpot's blog post. They were getting close to 10 million visitors per day, and now they're down 87%, down to 1 million visitors a day. You can imagine for a big business like that, that is really going to hurt their bottom line. So if it's happening to them, it's probably going to happen to you and other people there. Now, there's always rules to this exception. There's always a website that slips through the cracks and is doing well for some reason. But for majority, traffic is down and it's going to continue going down. And really, it's because the goals have changed here. So the old goal used to be that one blue link that was ranking #1, meaning the old goal used to be the destination, right? The click. So therefore, success also meant clicks. How many clicks are you getting? But now the goal has changed. The new goal is to be the source, to be trusted by the AI search engines enough that they use your information to cite their answers, right? So success means now being that topical authority figure and being everywhere so that when the user is ready to make that transaction, you are there. So now it's changed again. The old goal used to be the destination. The new goal is to be cited, to be the source. Throughout your journey, you've probably already seen different acronyms to this new landscape of SEO. AI SEO, AEO, LLM SEO, GEO. You might have even heard me saying it. And my whole point here is, do not get confused. This is all just SEO. Whilst they all might have different meanings, they're all just SEO. SEO isn't dying, but it is evolving, as we've demonstrated already. So you also need to understand that you can't do these without doing SEO, right? There is a difference tiny bit in GEO from SEO, but trying to do one of these ones without doing SEO is a little bit like saying, I don't want to learn how to swim. I just want to learn how to do butterfly stroke. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do one without the other. So whilst, yeah, this is a new kind of game here, they're all fundamentally still just SEO. So don't get caught up about it. So then how do we actually optimize for AI search? Well, we're going to go through this in detail. But what I want you to understand is that the old pyramid of SEO can be fundamentally kind of based in these four little sections. Now, they can be named different things, but fundamentally, to do good traditional SEO, you need good offsite SEO, good content, good backlinks, and good on-site SEO. And there's a lot of little sub things within each of these boxes, but I think that can be a really good summary of what makes good SEO. And all we need to do is realize that the top of the pyramid has changed and there's an extra step, and that's AI SEO. But we still can't rank in the AI search engines without doing all these other ones. It's just not going to happen. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, right? The AI search engines, whether that's AI search from Google, GPT, or Perplexity, they go shopping for their sources in the first page for that search term. It wouldn't make much sense for them to go digging for the third, fourth, or fifth page of that search result for their sources. That's not trusted sources. So you still need to do the work, and you still need to rank in traditional SEO to even be considered to rank in the AI overviews and be cited. Analysis, which will form the strategy. People love to overcomplicate keyword research. I think the more simple you keep it, the more useful it's going to be for you, particularly when you're starting. So to do keyword research, we need a couple of things. Obviously, we're going to use AI to help us organize all this, and I'll give you a prompt below for that. But really, we need an SEO tool, whether that's Ahrefs, SEMrush, you take your pick, but all of those can get quite expensive. For this tutorial, we're going to use data for SEO. It's high quality data, but also it's a pay-as-you-go program, meaning that you put some credits into it, and if you don't use it, you don't pay for it. So it's not another subscription that you have to worry about it. And in my opinion, it is extremely cost effective. And when you sign up with the link below, you're going to get $5 free credit to use this tool with a Google Sheets add-on, which is more than enough for a lot of research that we need to do. Definitely more than enough to follow along with this tutorial. So the first thing you need to do to start your keyword research journey is create an account with Data for SEO. I'm going to log in, and when you sign in with the link below, you're either going to have $1 or $5 here. If you don't get the $5, you can reach out to their support here and make sure they give you those $5 free credit. Now, two things we need to be able to use Data for SEO. Don't worry if it looks very complicated. We only need a couple of things here. You need the API login, and you also need your API password. You'll have to get that sent by email and save that little password code. Next thing to do is to start a brand new Google Sheet. And you're going to want to go to this link, which is a Google Sheets connector with Data for SEO. One of the reasons why this program is so cost effective is because they don't have a pretty interface, but they still have high quality data. And I think that's a nice trade-off. So I'm going to try this for free, and it's going to take you to this Data for SEO API connector. You're going to install it. And then when you go back to a random Google Sheet, ideally a brand fresh one, once you go to extensions, you're going to see Data for SEO connector. You're going to start that, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to build this template in which you'll be able to do not only keyword research, competitor analysis, and a lot more things. Here, with this pop-up, you're going to say, yes, insert pre-made templates. Now with the template all set up, let's just navigate it a little bit so you don't get too lost. It might look confusing, but trust me, it isn't. So At the bottom, you have these new tabs. So you see here, keyword search intent, keyword difficulty, Google search volume, Bing search volume, keyword suggestions, similar keywords. And if we click on the right, scroll right arrow, you'll see that we've got a bunch more things, right? The kind of API calls here that allows you to do are very, very varied and very, very good. There's a couple of things that you need to understand that when we use one of the tabs, so let's say we want to use, for example, one of my favorite ones is keyword suggestions or cumulative keywords. We want to click the tab here, and we want to make sure that in the right-hand menu from Data for SEO, we look for keyword suggestions. So keyword suggestions, and now I'm in keyword suggestions. So the tab at the bottom and the right-hand menu need to align, otherwise this won't work. That's the only tricky or clunky thing of this, but to do free keyword research with high quality data, I'm happy to pay that trade-off, right? So we're going to grab a website here. This is someone from our community that we're going to help them out with a bit of keyword research and analysis. So they do they do mortgage approvals, I think in Michigan, right? And we're going to go into website structure and all that later on, but I just want to simplify keyword research. Keyword research is the thing that I find people to overcomplicate. So my intent here is to really keep it simple. We're going to be trying to find two main keywords, transactional keywords and informational keywords. Now, the transactional keywords are search terms with buying intent, meaning if a user is searching with these keywords, they're probably ready to make a purchase, submit a lead, whatever that might be, as you can see here. Whereas the informational keywords are search terms where people are looking to learn, they're looking for information, they're looking to compare. Now, technically, there is more definitions for different keywords, but that doesn't really matter for now. And the purpose of these keywords, as opposed to the transactional ones, are to build topical authority, because we want to write about everything that we know about, and to gain a little bit of traffic if it's possible, right? So those are the different kind of keywords, transactional, informational keywords. That's what we're going to be finding now. So you've set up your data for SEO, you're all ready to go. And you can see here, I've kind of done this in advance. One of the main things that we're going to try to find is one of the services they provide is home equity loans. So we want to find the transactional keywords that are these ones here. And those are the ones that we're going to make sure we have in that page, because that's our money page, right? You'll see what I mean in a second. So what we want to do is grab our sheet. And in our sheet, like I said below, you need to make sure you have the extension enabled. You can go back to this sheet. I'm going to go start here. And what I want to find here is the similar keywords. That's the first thing I want to find. So what I would like to do is make sure that I've got some keywords for home equity loan, right? That is really the main thing, the main keyword that we want to try and find some more information about. We want to copy that. We want to go back to data for SEO, and we want to place that in there. We want to place that in there. The location in this instance is the United States. And English, the rest is fine. Now, the number of suggested keywords, I want a bit of data here, so I'm going to go all the way up to 80. And then on the right-hand side, I need to find the same similar keywords, but in this drop-down here. So I've got here similar keywords. Perfect. Similar keywords and keyword suggestions are very much the same. I just prefer similar keywords to some matter. There is a different definition, but you get kind of the same things anyway. So now that I've got that selected, I'm going to hit run. And if I scroll a little bit to the right, you'll see that this will update in a second with ideally 80 keywords that we can start kind of seeing. So here, home equity loans, let's see. Home equity loan rates, beautiful. So what I'm going to start trying to do now in the keyword suggestion as well, I'm going to do the same thing to see how many keywords we can find here. You can see that we get a little bit of different data. So keyword suggestions, home equity loans, I've already done this one, perfect. Okay, great. So now in this one here, let me actually do it with you. So home equity loans, number of suggestions, let's go 80 so we get a bit more. And I'm going to make sure up in the right-hand menu, I've got keyword suggestions. I think keyword suggestions are a little bit more loose in terms of loosely related, whereas similar keywords have to be more similar. I think now I remember the definition. Again, I don't like to overcomplicate these things. Let's see if I can find more than 80 keywords here. It might not. No, perfect. That's all that it found, so I'm happy with that. So I think this is the section where people get stuck. They go, great, I've got all the keywords. Let's go through the data and see what it means. Before we even get to the data, I want to make sure you understand that whether it's the SEO tool, data for SEO, Ahrefs, SEMrush, whatever you're using, they're not an absolute source of truth, meaning they're not 100% correct. You should use them as a guide, not as an absolute source of truth. I say this because sometimes people search for a certain word in their location and they say, oh, it's got 0 to 10 search volume. It doesn't make sense for me to go for it. That tends to be rubbish. And if you think that that keyword makes sense for you to go for because you know that people are searching for that, because you know your niche better, then optimize for that keyword regardless. It's quite a good strategy, 0 search term keywords that a lot of people go for. But anyway, so again, just a guide, not an absolute source of truth. So now looking through here, you want to do a general analysis to understand. So these are the suggested keywords. This is the estimated monthly search volume that the keyword produces, or that search term. Competition index, I don't like that data set. What I like more is a keyword difficulty. CPC is cost per click. So this is a great data set to understand. If I rank number 1 for that keyword and I'm getting, let's say 1,000 clicks every month for home equity home loans. And if I do the quick maths here and I go 17.32 times 1,000, then I would be spending $17,320 for the same, to get that same amount of traffic if I was running ads for it. It kind of gives you a really good understanding of why SEO can also be so damn cost effective when done correctly, right? Now, the keyword difficulty is a really good one. That's understanding how difficult the keyword is going to be to rank for. The higher the number, so the closer to 100, the more impossible it's going to be to rank, and the lower the number, the easier. So for example, here is one that's really good. Chase Home Equity Loan has a Z-word keyword difficulty. Now, I know that's not exactly true because Chase is actually a bank in the United States, so you have to have a bit of common sense here. Here's one that is incredible. So home equity agreement, right? So the agreement itself, that keyword, for example, might be a bit of a gold mine because if the keyword difficulty is null, meaning 0, but the potential search volume is 14,800 search volume, amazing. That is going to be a good keyword. If I offer home equity agreement, I don't know if that client does, to be honest, but if they did, I would say, hey, we need to do a page, a transactional page around this, and then an informational keyword or supporting pages around this. And actually, I'm going to select that one for later because we're going to do content around that so I can show you how to write supporting content for that. So I'm just going to highlight that different color. And what you want to go through is do this exercise. See if there's any little golden nuggets that might have really low competition. US Bank Honey Loan, that makes sense for you to go for. This one's not a bad one as well. Discover home equity loan rates, commercial. So you might have a list of different home equity loan. Yeah, I really like going through this because sometimes you just find absolute gold mines of 0 search or 0 low difficulty and high search volume. It's not to say that you shouldn't go for the high search volume keywords, but if you're starting out, if it's a new website, try to start with the lower hanging fruit. By that, I mean the keyword difficulty is low. Even if the search volume is low, the thing is here, you're not looking for all the traffic. You're looking for the right traffic. People get shiny object syndrome with like this keyword because it's got 16,000 estimated monthly search volume. Sure, but maybe not all the traffic that you get from that because it's quite broad is going to be good for you. Anyway, I've fluffed off on enough about that. So this is great. What do I do with these keywords? We're going to get into this one in a second. But what I want you to do is go to ChatGPT. We're going to use our trusty tool here. And in the resources, I have gotten this ready for you guys, which is just a prompt that's going to help you do a bit of segmentation right away for those keywords. And by that, I mean just organize this mess of keyword data that we got into a bit of actionable plans, right? So I'm going to place this prompt in here, and then I'm just going to give it the data. And because GPT-5 is so damn smart, you can just copy and paste the dirty big data that we got from before, and it'll do a pretty lovely job in organizing all this. So I want to get all these ones here. Perfect. and I want to copy this so it understands the data a bit more. I want to paste that. And what I'm going to do as well is paste the other stuff here, go to similar keywords and making sure that I've got this one as well, because these are all similar. I want to make sure that we've got that. And you see it's got the data between commercial and informational. We've instructed it to kind of segment those and tell us where to use which one. It'll make sense in a second. So the prompt, the data for that money page. So for the home equity loan, right? And let's go to GPT. And now it's going to ask us to clarify what this data is all about. The more context you give ChatGPT in this instance, the better it's going to do. Right, so here it's asking clarify the business type and primary site goals. So let's just go to the website. So get home loan approval in Michigan. I think these guys are in. So the business focuses in helping people getting home loan approvals in Michigan. This is going to be centered around for one of the services pages about equity loans. I want you to, yeah, and that's it actually. And the rest is, this is a service business and the primary goal is to get leads. It is to get leads and become the topical authority. Now, GPT-5 fast is more than enough for this. I've just set it in auto because we're not doing rocket science, right? We're just doing SEO. People say, I need the smartest model for this. I need Gemini 2.5. You don't. You really don't. This is more than enough. And you can see here, it's doing such a good job, at least in my opinion, at organizing everything for me. So I've got the main page here. The target keyword is going to be home equity loan. And then the title is home equity loan in Michigan. You see, because we've given it the context of, hey, we're doing some keyword research for this website that offers this service in this location, it's already giving us really highly optimized titles for this. I might have a sub pages of home equity loan calculators. Those type of pages are not only going to get you good traffic, but potentially good backlinks. We'll touch on backlinks in a second. And then it's also giving me some articles. So I can already start writing articles, which we'll go through in a second as well, right? So for the main page of home equity loans, I can go back to this here. So main page, I want to do a tab here, home equity loans. Loans. Perfect. And I'm just going to paste the data that GPT gave me. I can already start here. And this sometimes is enough for you to get started for a client or for yourself because you know your main pages, the sub pages that you might want to build, and you have the starting blog articles to go with, right? I think this is pretty good already. So again, these are the main things you want to place in that the main services page, so target keywords. Some of the H2s need to be home loan equity, home loan rates, best home equity loan rates, equity home line of credit rates, and HELOC versus home equity loan, because it seems that a lot of people are looking for that, and that's a transactional keyword. I trust that makes sense. So we've done a quick keyword exercise, and we've already found the transactional keywords and some of the informational keywords. Now, the second part of this keyword research section is going to be about finding all the informational keywords you ever need. And before, we found a bit of a golden nugget, right? We found a keyword that had low competition but high search volume. Now, I don't really know what home equity agreement is, to be honest. It's outside of my expertise. But let's say they offer that service, home equity agreement. So one, I need to build a page around that. So I could do the same keyword research, for example, on grabbing this home equity loan and putting that as the main keyword and just seeing what comes up as well. Keyword suggestions, keyword suggestions, just to see if it's actually got the right data set. And I want to find, well, maybe there's other golden nuggets related to that keyword. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Also, home equity investment, a lot of keywords, pretty good. So now I've got a lot of related ones that have got a lot of search volume and little competition. yeah, little competition, null, chase equity loans, home investment, pros and cons. That's a great article that we could write about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to grab the main keyword as well, home equity agreement. And I'm going to use one more tool. Again, this is a free tool, or the freemium version is more than good enough. It's called Answer Socrates. And the purpose here is to find every single frequently asked question about home equity agreement. And there's going to be a lot of questions about that because with a topic like this, people really want to do their research. So you want to make sure that you are in every single part of the journey for the user. So anyway, I've done the main keyword and the topic, the country, the language. I'm going to hit search. This will be linked below. There's a lot of tools like this, whether it's Answer the Public, and people also ask, but I really like Answer Socrates at the moment. So all of a sudden, I've got a total of 558 questions related to this keyword. And the idea here is one question equals one blog post that you answer in detail. There's one extra feature this tool has to cluster the keyword, and it uses a large language model to cluster the keywords into questions that are very similar. Because some of these questions are very similar, as you'll see in a second, but it has one more feature that I really like. So for example, if I answer the question, are home equity agreements a good idea? And if I click on this, the cluster for these types of questions that are very similar to one another can give me a potential search volume of 710, traffic or search volume, a month, if I rank really well for that. And I just like that kind of assessment there. So cool. I've got, potential, ideas to write about and to become the topical authority figure. So what I want you to do is download the clustered topic. Next thing is to start a new Google Sheet, and I'll show you why in a second. And we want to import the CSV file. We're going to upload this bad boy into here. And the way that they've formatted is really nice. So insert into replace current spreadsheet, doesn't really matter. I'm going to import the data. So this already makes an incredible spreadsheet for your content, right? So what you would do here is maybe do one more column where you see that if you've written this cluster name, where that would be the main keyword you're going for, and then you want to have that any variation keywords in here that particularly have some search volume, you have as H1 to H2, and you're answering that. We're going to go through how to create high quality content in a second, but already this is all the blog posts that you will need for a while. Now, not all of them are blog posts. For example, home equity agreement sharing Reddit. All right, these are people that are going straight to Reddit. This already tells me that a good strategy could also be them as a subject matter expert, just answering questions that people are asking about this field in Reddit, right? And that might be a little bit of a slug, but it's also a good idea to build some reputation there. People asking this thing about Kentucky and South Carolina, reviews. Yeah, I mean, the opportunities on content is kind of endless. So one thing that I like to do here is I'm just going to copy the link for this. And in the original blog articles, what I can do is, what was the keyword here? Home equity agreement. Yeah, home equity agreement. I can also do target keyword, home equity agreement, and I can go Command K, which will allow me to paste a link to it. And now I've kind of done the majority of the research for this keyword, for home equity agreement, because I can click on that and go, oh yeah, that's right. Well, I need to write some content. Let's pick 3-4 blog posts and write about those. And I would recommend you do that for as many keywords that are related to you. So how are we going to structure this and everything? Don't worry, we're going to go through that later down the track. But I think this is, in my opinion, the new age of keyword, where you really want to find the questions that people are asking so you can answer them. Keyword stuffing is not really working so much. It's about adding value, which we're going to go through in the next section. Before we move on to competitor analysis, which is really important, I know for some of you this might seem too simple, but trust me, the simplicity works here. We found transactional keywords. We found all the informational keywords we could ever want. Leave it there. Don't overcomplicate things. The next thing we want to do within this research, and you'll understand why it makes sense looking at this together, is competitor analysis. What we're looking at here is the estimated traffic they're getting. More importantly, the keywords they are ranking for, because sometimes it's no use trying to do everything ourselves and discover these hidden keywords when maybe our competitors are already doing a good job. Why not leverage the work they are doing? I often find this that gives me some really, really good opportunities and ideas that I wouldn't have thought about. I just need to replicate it better than the competitors are doing. So we're going to use the competitor analysis to find some keyword gaps and then really prioritize the quick win that we want to get for these guys. So how do we do competitor analysis? Again, to go along with our keyword research, I've done another tab here, done competitors. And all I need you to do is maybe select 3-4 competitors that you know you are competing against and put it in this really easy to understand sheet. Again, don't overcomplicate things, particularly when you're starting out. Keep it simple, stupid, as the saying goes, and that's really is my preference, and I find a lot better performance when you do that. So I've just done a quick search, and I know that this is one of the competitors. I'm going to put the URL in there. I want to go to this one as well. Okay, so I want to put our client or our website. I'm just going to change the color of it because I think it's good to put it just differently so you can see it a lot easier. So now we want to find out the estimated traffic the competitors are getting, the backlinks, how many keywords they're ranking for, and we can even go a step further and understand what are those keywords we're ranking for. So again, we're going to use our main data for SEO sheet, and we need to click on the right scroll right here because we want to understand the organic traffic estimation. So that's the first thing we need to do. Right, we want to find, well, what's the monthly estimated organic traffic that they're all getting? Again, this is estimated search traffic. This is probably going to vary quite a bit in like if we were to look at their Google Analytics data, but we need something to go off, right? I know that the location here is always going to be the United States. Language English. Okay, that's all we need to do. But now again, on the right hand side of this menu, we need to make sure that we align the organic traffic estimation, and we need to find it here. I believe that is maybe search performance, organic traffic estimation. Perfect. You need to wait for that to load before you click run. Otherwise this thing won't work. I'm going to go run. Great. And now I've got the estimated traffic for all the websites, all my competitors again, right? Beautiful. I'm just going to do it quickly for the actual client in this instance. I probably should have done it all together, but never mind. And okay, Align Landing is actually getting a bit of traffic as well. That's great. Okay, next we need to get the backlinks of everybody. We're going to touch on backlinks quite a lot in the next section or in a couple of sections down in this tutorial. But if you've been around and done SEO for any time, you know that backlinks are quite important. So we need to click further on the right. Bulk backlinks overview. Again, this is going to allow us to get all the estimated backlinks that they are getting. We need to as well make sure that we've got that selected. Bulk backlink overview. So again, we're aligning the tab with this here. Cool. So now we're starting to get a bit of an understanding of why competitors are ranking higher than our competitor. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But you'll start seeing, for example, that things are correlating already. This guy's the MTG Pros. They have the most amount of traffic, so therefore we can estimate the most amount of leads. And finally enough, they've got the most amount of backlinks. Is it a direct correlation? Yes and no, but there's a very high probability that it is, right? So now the ranked keywords. This is going to take a little while for us, but it's going to be very, very much worth it. So let's do the first one, the client here. And we want to understand not only how many keywords they're ranking for, but what are those keywords. So we need to find here the one that says ranked keywords. We need to put the URL in there, make sure you have the right location. And here they return the number of keywords. I like to start with at least 80. The rest can stay the same. Let's find here as well, ranked keywords. And I'm going to run. This is going to tell us how many keywords they're ranking for and what they are as well. This is really, really valuable data. Now, if I did this search probably with Ahrefs or SEMrush, I might get really different data here. So this is where it's best to stick with one SEO tool to do everything. Otherwise, you're going to get a mix and match of different data sets, and it's probably not going to be that good. So I want to copy all this. I want to go back to our sheet here, and I want to start a new tab. I want to hit that, and this tab is going to be called the tab of the research we just did, which is, so we did keyword research or ranked keywords for aligned lending. So down in the tab here, we're going to go ranked keywords and align lending. And here in the competitors, I'm going to press Command K so that I can link to ranked keywords. So now really easily with one click, I'd see, oops, sorry. So now what I want to do is, now that I've put that all the keywords that they're ranking for there, I just want to copy the number. Go back to the competitors. So the client is ranking for 4 keywords, but I want to take it a step further. I'm going to go Command K or insert a backlink here, and I'm going to look for this tab here, ranked keywords. Ranked keywords, align lending. So what this allows me to do is really simply see, okay, well, they're ranking for 4 keywords apparently, and if I want to see what those keywords are, I've got it in that tab with associates with that client, right? So now I want to do the same thing for all the 4 competitors. You can skip this, but I'm going to do for all 4 of them so we don't miss out on anything. So now I'm going to try MTG Pros. I'm going to go back to data for SEO. I'm going to paste that, and I need to go to run. Remember, I've got number of return keywords 80. I'm assuming these guys are going to be ranking for a lot more keywords. There we go. So they are ranking for a total of 61 keywords. I want to grab this again. This is where things are going to start getting very interesting. We're going to get some really useful data. So again, I'm going to start a brand new tab. Here, I'm going to call it Ranked Keywords. I need to name it the research that we just did. So we don't get confused. Perfect. MGT Pros or MTG Pros. We're going to copy all the data for the 61 keywords they're ranking for. Paste it in here, and that is 61 that they're ranking for altogether. Again, you're going to press Command K if you're on a Mac. I think it's Control K if you're on a Windows. Ranked keywords, and this is going to be MGT Pros. So now I know that MTG Pros is ranking for 61 keywords. What are those keywords? Boom, like magic, right? Let's do the same. Again, let's get a little bit smarter here. I'm just going to go and create the sheets already for the other ones. And one more. All right, let's see. How many keywords are these guys ranking for? Let's run. So it's telling me they're only ranking for 2 keywords. Obviously, the reality is that they're probably ranking for more. But again, we just want to stick with one data set. And as long as you have one competitor that seems to have a lot of keywords, then you're okay. And if they don't have many keywords, then that's a good thing for you again. The final one, Mitch Mortgage, which I'm guessing it's Michigan Mortgage. They're probably going to be the ones that give us the most amount of useful data. Again, we're going to run. Okay, this is a great example. So here you see that we have only asked for 80 keywords returned, but in fact they are ranking for 101. I probably want to be sneaky and just rerun this with 101. So it returned all those keywords. When you're using with SEO, the more data you have, the better decisions you can make. So ideally we want to do another search. So it's going to give us all the data. Fantastic. Perfect. It'll be really interesting going through some of those keywords to see what these guys are ranking for. I'm going to copy this. Back to our other sheet. Perfect. So that is 101 keywords. Okay, now we start seeing some pretty interesting data, right? So, this tells a pretty interesting story that whilst the people that get the most amount of traffic don't have the most amount of ranked keywords, because maybe the keywords they're ranking for a pretty high competition, they get a lot of traffic, whereas these guys are ranking for more keywords, but maybe it's not the right ones, or maybe they're getting more leads. So I want to define this. This gives us a little bit of a sneak peek into why people are ranking, but we're never going to get the whole story, right? But still, search data that's quite interesting. What I want to do is go and have a look through some of our competitors and just see if some of these keywords are something that I should think about for the customer. For example, Detroit mortgage broker, they're in Michigan. They might have really local pages. So let's see here. The Mortgage Pro, mortgage professionals, mortgage brokers in Michigan, mortgage professionals. Let's see. Looks like they're also targeting Texas. Best FHA loan company. We might have to do a page about that as well. Mortgage broker refinancing. That is a probably pretty good keyword, although it's going to have... yeah, no, that seems pretty good. Okay, great. So now we have some really rich data, right? Again, a lot of people get stuck here, but I recommend you go through some of these keywords, and some of them might be concentrating on things that you never thought of. So have a human look here to see if anything kind of really comes out to you. I think this one is really interesting, the one that has 101 keywords. I want to see here what they might have. Mortgage, Grand Rapids, that might be a brand name or a location, I'm not sure. So, okay, they're ranking for what is MI Mortgage. Mortgage Express, that might be a good keyword. NMLS Michigan, whatever that is. So again, you know your industry better than obviously the AI does and the search engine does. So you need to understand if those keywords are relevant, related, if those keywords are useful for you. Okay, so this is all well and good, but how do we make sense of all this? Again, we're going to go to GPT. We're going to start a new chat. We're going to provide it with this prompt that I'll leave as well for you guys to have. It's not too complicated. Again, we're not doing rocket science. We're just organizing dirty data, and GPT is fairly smart at that. So I'm going to give it the prompt. It just says, I will provide you some competitor data that includes with all the things that we're going to give it. And then we've defined the output. That really makes a good prompt, defining the input and the output that you expect, as well as giving it a kind of personality. So expert SEO. What I can do here is just say the client is, and just define this a little bit more. The rest are competitors. And in the Google Sheet here, what you want to do is make sure you've got all the data here. We want to export this as a CSV file. Now be very careful here. When you export the CSV file, you're only exporting that tab, which is okay, but you're not exporting the whole sheet at once. I'm going to go CSV. So I'm exporting the competitors tab. So now I want to do everything individually as well. So let's go for this one, download CSV. This one. Download a CSV, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go back to GPT, and now I've got all of the data that I want to give it. So I've got the competitors. And I've given it everything. Now you can change this to a thinking model, but again, GPT-5 is more than smart enough for all this. See, it's analyzing everything. It should take a minute and it'll give us a pretty good plan. Let's take a quick look. Here are the prioritized keywords and backlink opportunities for Align Lending, which is the client that we're trying to rank in this example. So there's a gap. Keyword search following commercial main page. Mortgage Pro, I think that's a pretty good one. Backlinking opportunities. So MTG Pros have heavily local backlinks, likely include local directories, Chamber of Commerce partners, yada yada. Top 3 opportunities to prioritize. Target Michigan home loan rates with blog posts that have a low keyword difficulty of 10 because it has that data we provided that with, and strong search volume of 5,400. So we can probably create guides, how to, what's the first 10 steps. We'll get to that in a second, right? But we're going to use that keyword. I'm just going to save it because then I'll show you how to create content around that that's going to help us rank. Optimize for mortgage lenders in Michigan as a subpage. That's a good one. Mortgage Pros, whilst that is a competitor keyword, or that's the competitor's name, Mortgage Pros, we could probably do a them versus us type of blog post or comparison, which will allow us to rank for that as well. So cool, already it's given you the 3 priorities to optimize. You can probably do ask it follow-on questions. Tell me what are the opportunities for us to build more transactional type pages that will help us rank for the other keywords. And this is why I can't give you a complete step-by-step guide, because the strategy will change quite a lot depending on the data that you get. And this is why giving GPT-5 all this good data, improving the input will improve the output. Perfect. So it's giving us the keyword, the search volume, the rationale, why we want to build those pages, and even the suggested page type, whether it's a product, the location-based service pages, which we'll get into in a second. Perfect. So now with the keyword research done, we know what are the keywords we need to place in our main services pages and then the blog posts we need to write about. And now we see, well, what are our competitors ranking for that we can leverage they are doing for our strategies. You can get more complex, but I think this is enough to start you off with. The more competitors you have, the better. Essentially, we are improving GPT's input and therefore the output by giving it this high quality data. And you probably would have used like not even a cent, like fractions of a cent for all this research, and you've got an SEO tool that you can go back to and use all the time. I highly recommend you mix the data for SEO output with GPT, and it'll really, really help you speed up your whole SEO process without getting stuck at the research stage. So we found keyword gaps and we found prioritize traffic wins already. And then you can do the other ones if you want to, but I think those two are great to start off with. Next in our tutorial is website structure. This is one of the things I see many people getting wrong in the beginning, and it can be fundamentally the most important thing. No matter how much fancy AI tools you use for SEO, if you don't have the correct website structure, good luck ranking. And I think it can be narrowed down to one saying, which is measure twice, cut once. And I know that's a carpenter saying, but it really drives home here. Essentially, you need to plan your website before you start to build. Before you even touch a website builder like WordPress, Webflow, Shopify, whatever it is that you're building your website in, have a structure first. And we're going to show you a couple of ways you can think about creating the structure in a second. But essentially, you want to decide your core pages, home, about, the services, the contact, the blog post. You need to make sure that if it's a service-based business, every service needs their individual page. If it's an e-commerce store, you need to have pages for your categories, subcategories, sub-subcategories, and so on, and even the products, of course. You need to plan the internal linking. How is everything going to link with each other? That's not only very, very important from an SEO perspective, but from a navigation perspective as well. Draft up the titles, the H1, the URL structure, what that is going to look like, so that you avoid the common mistakes, which is no structure equals months of work in the future. And I can testify this because I've seen this so many times. People get excited about building a website and kind of jump into it before planning. This goes with the AI website builders as well that I don't really recommend yet. And sometimes they make the mistake because you don't explain what you need well enough. This also avoids content duplication and orphan pages. An orphan page is one that isn't linking to anything in the page, in a website. So I'm going to show you two main ways that you can visualize this, right? The first way is with a bit of a website sitemap, or they sometimes call it a wireframe. Regardless of what you call it, I think it's really good to visualize your website like this. The other way of visualizing it through a Google Sheet, which I'll show you as well. But we're going to use a very simple website sitemap for a service-based business that offers their services in different locations. This is the way that I want you to start thinking about this, where you need to understand, okay, what is my menu going to look like? What lives under this menu, and what's the parent page for each one of these sub-pages? So for a services-based business, this could be a plumber or a carpenter or whatever you want. You can have your main services pages, hub page, about us, blog resources, contact, and then locations pages. And we're going to go through this just in tiny detail. So for example, the main services hub, what I mean here is one page that is the umbrella term for all the services that you have. For example, if you are a plumber, you might have 3 additional services. So plumbing services is the umbrella term, but you might have hot water installation, 24-hour repair, and pipe leak repair, for example. Those are your sub-services. So service 1, service 2, service 3. But your main page, services pages, has all these services here. And a really rough kind of understanding of what that page might look like, again, this is just very rough detail, might be the main pages. So for example, let's say we're using a plumber all over New York, so Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, right? The H1 as well as the title of the page might be main service, so main service being plumbing in New York. And the URL structure is just / use your website / services. Can be plumbing services, but services is fine. Then a CTA, which stands for a call to action. So the first thing I see should be a call to action, as well as the main title of the service that you have. Maybe an intro to the services. Review section is really important. The benefits, that how it works, another call to action, FAQ, and then these sub services. You don't have to follow this structure to the letter, but it's a good idea to do so. If you think another structure works, that's fine. But what isn't negotiable in my experience and in my opinion is the H1 and the title being the main service plus the main location. So if you're in a big city, let's use another example. If you're in Melbourne and you're providing these services, it would be main service, so plumbing in Melbourne. And I'm going to show you how you're going to rank higher for each individual suburb. So that's the main services. And then at the bottom or wherever in the page that you illustrate that you have sub-services, so sub-service 1 might be emergency plumbing, hot water installation, and pipe leak repair, for example, they need to have their individual page services. And the URL structure can look like this: your website / services / sub-services. So this might look like your website services / emergency plumbing services, right? So this would say emergency plumbing services in New York or emergency plumbing services in Melbourne. That's the main both of the location, but the sub-service. And you see that the structure I've purposely done for all the pages exactly the same, meaning the layout of the page. That's fine. You won't get done for content duplication if the website structure or the design is the same, as long as the on-page content is different. We're going to go into what really needs to be different later down in this tutorial so you don't get done for content duplication. But you see they're all the same, but what I'm just changing is the subservice 1, subservice 2, subservice 3, and the URL structure changes a little bit. I'm going to give you a copy of this map of this architecture so you can have a look at it, right? And I'm also interlinking to the other services. So these services live in the main service hub page or in a drop-down for your main services. So what happens if we want to rank for internal locations within that main city, that main state, right? Because, for example, if you're in New York, you might not just want to rank for plumber in New York, but it might be beneficial for you to rank for plumber in Manhattan, plumber in Brooklyn, plumber in the Bronx, right? This is going to be very high intent transactional keywords that if you rank well for, you'll do really, really well. So how would that work? Well, for location 1, so this would be an example of Brooklyn. Instead of New York, you have the website structure / location 1, let's say Brooklyn. So a sub-location of the main area that you're in with the main service. And again, we follow the same structure. We have 3 sub-services, but this would be location 1, so Brooklyn, subservice 1, hot water installation or emergency plumber, right? This will make sense if you take a while and just think of this structure, but the main thing is to dedicate main pages for the sub-services and the sub-locations. This ensures that you match the user search intent a lot better, right? I wanted to also give you this in another example of a Google Sheet. I think it makes it a little bit more easy to understand. You can make a copy of this and make it your own, but I wanted to have it filled out with actual locations so this would make sense, right? So essentially, if we have these 3 locations that are within New York that we want to rank, we have the main location pages. So one location would be Brooklyn, for example. Let's make sure I spell that right, otherwise I'm going to get killed in the comments. So if we have a main page that is Brooklyn, and we have Brooklyn Plumbing Services, the sub-pages for this would be drain cleaning in Brooklyn, hot water installation in Brooklyn, and emergency plumbing in Brooklyn, because those are the things that I want to rank for. Therefore, I've done the URL structure as well, what the targeting keyword is going to be, the intent, and if I plan all this out, I know how to build the structure, what everything needs to link to, and what are the things that I also should be ranking for. If I build the pages dedicated with the keyword and the location, it should replicate in me ranking for those keywords in the future, right? So again, you won't get done for content duplication if you just structure everything correctly. And then we're gonna go in the future and further down the track in this. And further down the track in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you set up the pages so you really don't get done for content duplication. There is a little bit of argument in the internet saying that, well, you're wasting crawling resources by doing these pages, and that might be the case, but to be honest, for our experience, this has always worked extremely well, no matter which niche that you're in, but you need to plan accordingly. If you have any questions about this, leave it in the comments below, but I really want you to understand this, that you need to plan this out. And you can take both this website sitemap or wireframe and the Google Sheet, so you put it to your use case. And remember, this doesn't just have to be for local businesses, but if it's for an e-commerce store or a blog post, everything should have a structure of main pages, subpages, and subpages. You can't kind of have too many pages as long as they're answering some sort of search intent. So again, I just want to summarize this by please plan your website structure out. I've given you plenty of examples to think this through, and then start building your website, because if you don't get this right, you will pay for it dearly in the future. Next section is probably one of my favorite ones, and one that everybody asks me for, which is content workflow. What I mean here is how to generate high quality content using AI that's going to help you rank for more keywords, get organic traffic, and turn you into the topical authority figure. I want to be very clear here. My intention here is to use AI as an extension, not as a complete replacement of you. I'm not wanting to write spammy content. I want to make that very, very clear. So also, search engines don't penalize AI content. They only penalize low quality content. I think we've been through that already. But the thing is that all spammy content looks AI, right? But not all AI content is spammy. So as long as you create content with the want and the need to add a lot more value, you're going to be just fine. Obviously, some things slip through the cracks. There's some websites that are 100% AI generated, and for some reason, they're ranking really well. But my recommendation is don't try to copy them, because it probably won't work for you. SEO is a bit weird like that. And if you are doubting if I'm actually correct with this, or if somebody says and tells you Google penalizes AI content, you can send them this link where they're really clear. And they say that they reward content, high quality content, however it's produced. So whether it's produced with AI or not, but it's got to be high quality, and that's what we're going to ensure you do. And to write high quality content isn't necessarily difficult. So I'm going to show you a lot of strategies in which we found really successful to write content that gets you seen in the AI search overviews, GPT search, and Perplexity. And a lot of the strategies that we teach, thankfully, have been backed up by peer review articles, by research. This is the first research paper published by Princeton University on GEO optimization strategies that, if you follow those, they give you an average 40% increase to be seen in the AI overviews. And to summarize the paper, what they say, as well as what we teach, essentially is you need to write content that's unique to you. So you need to find your tone of voice, and we're going to literally do that in a second. You want to add value to the user, and we do that by finding the questions your audience is asking. Guess what? We already did that in the video already. You want to, this is really, really important. You want to add data to back up your statement, and not only add data to back up your statement, but you want to reference where you got the data from. What I mean here is, for example, when I say that drinking 2 liters of water a day is healthy for you. No, what you want to say is be more specific. So research shows that drinking 2 liters a day will increase your health by 84%. I don't know, but you just want to back up the data, and when you get that data from, you want to backlink to that. That's really important. The study found that it's probably best to write at an 8th grade level. This makes it a lot more approachable for most people on the internet. This isn't dumbing down your content. This is just making it simple. So don't overcomplicate it and use fluffy words. Whenever possible, cut the fluff. Get to the point right away. This is why what doesn't rank well is the classic AI stuff that says in the ever-evolving world of no, right? Always write an initial draft, polish when possible. And by polish, I mean really cut the content wherever it has some unnecessary fluff. And then we want to add supporting visuals. We're going to do all of this with the help of AI, but using it as an extension, not as a replacement. So I like to get a couple of things when I'm writing with AI. My preference is GPT. people prefer Claude. Whatever you prefer doesn't really matter, but I think this workflow will work really well for you regardless. I think you need two main things to write good content that sounds like you, which is the main thing I want you to achieve here, and that is your own negative keyword list. I've got one here, and you can start with this one. My recommendation is that you start with your own negative keyword list. And as time goes and you're starting to write with AI and it uses a phrase or an M dash, for example, let's use that one there. You place it in here, right? And you tell it, don't use that. I don't like that. And you have a negative keyword list. And the last thing that we're going to get is a tone of voice document for this. So then you can add both the negative keyword list, the tone of voice document, plus a handy dandy little prompt that you guys have access to, which is going to write really well for you. And it'll make things a lot easier, but we're using the canvas feature, the collaborative feature, and we'll go through that in a second. So apart from the negative keyword list and the prompt that I've provided in the resources, you need a tone of voice document. This is a distillation of what your tone of voice is, what it sounds like. To do this, you need some sort of content that you've put some effort to, ideally without AI, at least this time, and you've written and you think that it really sounds like you, or represents your tone of voice. It doesn't have to be something that is done really well. For example, this is a blog post that I've written or a LinkedIn post that got 7 likes, right? Next to nothing. But that's not the point here. The point is that I was really proud of how it sounded because I was stuck in an airport lounge and I didn't have internet, but I wrote the whole thing and it really sounds like me. It's a little bit cheeky. I think there's a couple of swear words here and there, and I back up my statements. What I'm going to do is going to grab that. And in the resources below, there's going to be this tone of voice GPT. It's pretty obvious what it does. You just need to paste the tone of voice documentation that you think sounds like you. This can be an email, a blog post, a LinkedIn post like I did. The more, the better. You're going to give it a while and it's going to create this tone of voice document for you. Now, my recommendation is for you to read it, please, and see if you agree with it. If you don't, tell it, hey, I don't agree with this. I want to make sure this sounds more like X instead of Z. You get the idea. But let's say I'm happy with this whole thing. I'm going to copy everything and I'm going to go to a Google Doc, paste it, the whole thing in there. And I'm going to write this tone of voice doc. So now we are pretty much ready to go. The only last thing that we need is some sort of topic that we want to write about. Let's go back to our keyword research document. There is this one here. Are home equity agreements a good idea? I think that's a pretty good blog post to write about, to be honest. So I'm going to write about that. We're going to start a brand new chat within ChatGPT. We're going to grab the copywriting prompt that I'll leave in the resources below, and we're going to paste that into the chat. You can see if I scroll to the top of the prompt, it's got insert keyword or question there. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You want to go to the research that we've done. We want to write about home equity agreements, for example. And then we want to go back to GPT and we're going to paste it. Oh, sorry, what happened? We want to copy this. We want to go back to ChatGPT. And we want to make sure we put it in brackets so it understands that. Then we want to insert the tone of voice document. So we need to download this guy. Download as a simple text file. Perfect. And we want to download the negative keyword list while we are at it. Remember, you want to keep adding your own special negative keywords in that. So we're going to drop those two documents in there, negative keyword list, tone of voice, and then we just need to change these to attached and the other one as well. Perfect. Now we're going to hit enter. This isn't going to go and write this thing right away. You can see that I've selected GPT-5 and I've selected the automatic, so it chooses which model. Now, I've purposely told it to ask some preliminary questions because without, like we've done for the keyword research or when we gave GPT all the keyword research data, we want to get more from us so that the output is better. The better the input, the better the output. No matter how smart these models are, if the input is garbage, the output will be garbage. And we're improving the input by getting it to ask you questions. For example, it's asking, who is this written for? homeowners, real estate investors, financial advisors. So this is written for homeowners in Michigan, or people that want to buy new homes in Michigan. So here, the main goal is to provide as much value as possible to new homeowners in Michigan in the United States. And I don't have any specifics for number 4 and 5. Perfect, so I'm going to give it that. Now, it's going to do some research because we want to reference high quality sources. Specifically, when it comes to this type of content where it's about a financial aspect, you fall under this category called Your Money, Your Life. I've done a video about it. I'll leave it linked in the resources. It's really important. Okay, perfect. Now it's asking me some continuous follow-up questions, which is good. Don't get annoyed because the more information it gets from you, the better. So, perfect. Are these Michigan homes already settled or in their homes, or they're looking for equity access? Are there aspiring buyers? Let's do something a little bit, let's do something tricky here. So I'm going to do something very lazy, and you might be able to do this as well. And I want to show you the flexibility of this. Ideally, don't do something like that. But what I'm going to do is say, that is the website we're writing for. Crawl the site and find the answers. And I just want to make sure that we've got enabled the web search. Ideally, you don't want to do that, but I don't understand enough about this topic that I just want to give it the stuff. Perfect. Perfect. So now it's giving me the outline, which it should have, right? And now I can say, perfect. Now write the whole thing. And I'm just going to make sure it doesn't use a search thing now. And it should open up the canvas automatically because it knows once you answered the questions that it's asked, it'll do the research, it'll give you the structure for the blog post, which you can tell it to amend if you're not happy with it, and then it'll go and write this, right? So you can see here that it's doing a couple of really, really good things. So it's writing really well. You can delete the em dashes if you want, but a really important thing is that it's backlinking to the right sources already. That is a non-negotiable, particularly if you fall under Your Money, Your Life. And we've got a pretty decent blog post. The reason why I like writing like this in the Canvas feature is because if I don't like the em dashes, I can simply delete them directly from the platform. I think it's pretty good. And you can see here that everything is backlinking to the right resources. Fantastic. So if you want to shorten something, or let's say here, I want to say, add one more scenario, and it'll just amend that section there. And if I want to say, for example, can you simplify this, or can you complicate this a little bit? Perfect. Whatever it is that you want, right? I just really like this way of writing. So is this ready to be published right away? No, right? I'm going to show you what I would add in this. So I'm going to place this thing in a whole Google Doc. It's really difficult to show you what it looks like in the back end of a website because you might have WordPress, Webflow, Wix, whatever, but I think you get the idea. You kind of put this in the back end of your website as a blog post. However, don't add it as a blog post yet. What I like to do is put it all in a Google Doc, right? I've also set at the bottom of the prompt, by the way, to add an FAQ, which is really important at the end. So one more thing that you can do to make this really a little easier to understand is, for example, what is a home loan equity loan? What we want to try and add, or this one here actually, perfect, is we want to add a supporting visual element that is going to add value to the content by making this more easy to understand because we've given it a visual element. Might sound really difficult, but it's actually quite easy. We're going to go to a free tool called napkin.ai. If you followed me for any period of time, you've probably seen this tool. As of the time of this recording, the free version is phenomenal and it is worth it. So I'm going to go new napkin and I'm going to go to a brand brand new napkin. I'm going to paste all of the stuff in here. I'm going to select everything so it understands that I want it to reference everything, and I'm going to press this button. Now it's reading this whole thing and it's trying to understand what is the best way to visualize with the point that we're trying to get across here. And already perfect. This is pros and cons, equity home loans. Nice. And I think I like this here. Yeah, that's pretty good. You can change the styling here. You can make that a little bit darker. That's pretty good. So now I can download this as a PNG. Remember, if you're uploading that to your actual website, don't have it as a PNG. What you want to do is go to something like PNG to WebP, and you want to upload that as a WebP. And you want to convert it. So when you upload it to your computer, to your website, it's too late. The thing's going to be a WebP, and that's just a more optimized file size. It's very light, and PNGs are probably the one culprit of making websites really heavy. So make sure it's a WebP file. Anyway, enough about that. So here below the section, I can add my visual, right? The next thing that you want to do is one more thing, is if you have a certain keyword. So let's say this service website did in fact offer home equity agreements, contracts, right? I don't know if they do. Let's say they did. Let's say this said home equity agreements. What I want to do is make sure that that blog post is linking to that page. And in that sense, I am writing content that is therefore supporting that main services page. Because a blog post without internal links is a little bit like a room within a house without doors anywhere else. So I hope that makes sense. You need to backlink to other sections of your website. So two types of links. Remember, you need to back up the statements with the sources of where you found the information, and you need to link internally into your website. And now you can upload this to your website. It's pretty good. Do the due diligence and read it. Make sure that you're happy with it. You're the subject matter expert, but now you've kind of done everything a little bit quicker. One more thing you can add in here, which ideally you can, is your experience about the topic. Let's say you have a story like, oh, I once helped a client, Jim, get a, what are we talking about? Get a home equity agreement, and this is what happened. If you can add your experience, that's another tick in the box. So perfect. Now we've written a blog post that is giving you the highest possibility to rank really well. What if we want to do this at scale, right? Here's a quick tutorial on how to do that as well. This is the next section on the content creation, because I want to give you two workflows, right? So there are many tools to create content at scale. Before we even get to the content at scale, I want to make sure that we understand again really clearly why we are writing all this content. So in this instance, this kind of represents the content that we're writing. This is also called the content pillar and satellite strategy. So the content pillar, for example, this is visualized by the blue circle. This can be your services page. So in this example, we were creating a bit of a plan for a website that is a travel agency for Tulum in Mexico. So we have one main page that is traveling to Tulum, how to get there, here's the services, and all the green ones are the supporting articles answering smaller questions in detail, but they're all linking, as you can see, to the main page, which is kind of just what we did before. But then how do you write all these other green blog posts? There's a lot really quickly while still maintaining the tone of voice, that it's well researched, and it's going to have our experiences. One of the tools that I use all the time is Machined AI. You can create an account. You'll get some sort of discount below if you use the link below. You're going to sign in, and this is going to allow you to create clusters of content at once. So a cluster of content being this. And this is also a bring your own key type of tool. You bring your own API key if you want to, or you can use their own API key. Just quickly, if you do want to use your own API key because it's slightly cheaper, you want to go to Playground. And I'll leave a tutorial on how to get your API key, but you'll need to set up an account with the Playground from OpenAI, which is a different platform than the normal GPT that we use. It's a different service altogether than this front-end GPT. Perfect. So you need to get your API key, which you do in the dashboard. Going to API keys. You're going to create a new secret key. You're going to name it, for example, test. You're going to create a key. It's really important that you save this key now because that's the last time you're going to see it. Right? So you want to copy it. Done. I'm just going to delete this so you guys don't have access to it. Anyway, so with that copied, you want to go to the settings of this. Your account. And if you press here for open API key, you're not going to have that, right? And you're going to place your API key in there. Make sure you have some credits in your OpenAI account. So how do we write a cluster of content here? It's quite easy. You're not going to have all these things here. You're going to go up to the clusters. You're going to go to create content and the topic. This is really, really important, right? So you can see here, they've given us the example of dogs, Labrador exercises, meaning we want to write a content cluster about the best exercises for Labrador dogs, right? We have a section for audience, the language, and a bunch more things. So let's take our example before, and we're going to write about home equity loan. We're going to go back here. Your first mortgage, home equity loans, right? So that's a subtopic. And for the audience, we're going to do first home buyers of small families in Michigan, United States. So that's the audience. The more you define the audience, the better. And we're going to leave the language as the United States. English United States, and the engine we're going to leave in V3. You can go to manual and place in all the other keywords that you want to rank for, but for now I just want to focus on that. The region, I'm going to use United States, and I'm going to start with a cluster of 10 blog posts. What it's doing right now, it's doing research on what the search intent for these keywords are, what's ranking really well for these types of keywords, and then it's going to suggest not only the keywords, but the names of the titles. So you're going to give it a second to load, and you can see that it's got the estimated search volume for the home loan calculator, home equity loan lenders, home equity loan for debt consolidation. So all these pretty good keywords. Hasn't written anything yet. So what you want to do, for example, I don't want a home loan calculator blog post because it's not actually going to build the calculator for me, but I want to say that in the back of my mind, I want to build one. I just want to make sure that I have just this one selected. And for example, I want to delete. Whoop. So it hasn't written anything. It's just given me all the examples that it recommends. So if I'm happy with all the keywords that it's going for, I can move on to the next couple of things. The content type, I can make each of these ones different. So informational, the ultimate guide, the list, the roundup, the comparison reviews. For example, your guide to affordable loan interest rates. This one's interesting. So which one is better? Home equity loan versus home equity line of credit. We want to make that a comparison, for example. The rest can stay. This one's going to be an ultimate guide. And you want to change it up a little bit. We're going to make that an ultimate guide. In the next column, you see a custom brief. This is really important. So if you have personal experience or you want the AI to touch on something specific within that blog post, that is where you add it. For example, I don't know, I want you to add that it's really easy for families with two children, and if the two parents are also in the workforce, to get a home loan. I don't know if that's true or not, but my point is here is if you've got some knowledge in the topic and you want the AI to touch on a certain thing within that topic or within that blog post, I should say, you want to place it in there. Lastly, the author is really important. So you can change the tone of voice. You see here it's got some pre-built tones of voices, and then I've also done my own custom tone of voice. Custom tone of voice is really easy to create. In fact, we're kind of already there because we've created our tone of voice before. We're going to create a tone of voice by going example. Example 3. And I need to put some content in there. And thankfully, I've already selected my LinkedIn content that I used before. So the tone of voice should be somewhat similar. And I'm going to analyze that. It'll analyze and it'll create another tone of voice document, much like we've done. I don't know if I got the idea from them. It's a pretty like simple idea, right? And we're going to give it a second. So now we'll be able to write all of those articles in our tone of voice, which I really like. So now I've already done one. I've got the example 3, and now all the blog posts are going to be rewritten, or the titles will be written in that tone of voice. So it makes sense, right? They need to have the tone of voice from the beginning. The next, the research is really important. We need to understand, these are the domains you want to include, because when it writes this, it'll start doing research into finding the right sources that it should use as references. Like I've just taught you before, it's really important to back up your statements. But if you don't want it to mention a competitor, that is where you place the competitor. We're going to leave that as automated, directed. Again, if I wanted to crawl a certain site, so for example, this site here, I'm going to leave the link here so that it gets some direction as well. And the citations I'm going to leave as inline links, not footnotes. And lastly, the images, I'm going to use the Stability AI, and you want to see a style that you like. I'm just going to go for, I don't know, neon. And let me show you what one looks like. So now, once they're all ready, you can start writing one. There's an advanced section where you can choose the model. I'm going to use 01. You can use 01 or 04 mini. Obviously, 01 is going to be a bit more expensive. I think it ends up being about 50 cents per blog post, but it's a really good banging blog post, right? Obviously, 04 mini is not going to be as good. To be honest, I've tested both, and as long as you take the 2 seconds to add all the information we've done prior, it's going to write good content. I'm going to change the other one for 4 mini, and I'm going to write as well. You'll see that 4 mini is a lot quicker. Now, after a couple of seconds, we have our first blog written. What I really like about this is you can edit it directly within the platform. Now, you can see here that everything in blue, the blue links are the links that it's sourcing, and sometimes it will have some internal linking to the blog post within this cluster, which is what you want. If you don't like what it's written about, for example, if I want to get rid of that, I can, which is really good. And I can copy this whole thing, and I can export it as whatever I want, as PDF or whatever. I can copy this whole thing. I can also, if you connect it, I'm not going to go through the connection now, but I can publish it to my CMS directly. So you see my website there. So I can publish it as a draft in my website. You can do this with your client websites, with your websites, but they only have a native connection at the moment for WordPress and Webflow. But apart from that, you can't just copy the blog post and paste it in your computer. Again, this isn't to replace your writing, but this is to give you the ability to, when you sit down in 1 hour, instead of writing 1 blog post, now you write 10 blog posts, but go back and do the due diligence and add some value to them. I don't want you just to generate regurgitated AI fluff. That is not the point here. I want to make that very, very clear. But you can now offer this as a service. I think this is really, really incredible, and we've seen great results with this. And I want to finish this content section by saying that this isn't the only tool that you need to use. If you have another AI content tool that you prefer, by all means, use that one. But as long as you understand the fundamentals of what makes good AI content or content generated with AI, then it doesn't matter what you use, right? But don't go blindly and trust the tool that says our content will rank you number 1. No, it won't. You need to understand what actually makes good content. The next section is local SEO. This could be in itself a 3-hour plus tutorial, but I'm going to give you the fundamentals and some little tips and tricks that if you do, you're going to win no matter what. I want to make sure we get a couple of things understood, is that to simplify things, There are a lot more things that you can do for local SEO, but I want to simplify it to the 3 main actionable things you need to do. These are non-negotiables. You need to obviously get your Google Business Profile and optimize it. You need to do some local citations. These are local backlinks essentially. And you need to optimize your website for locality. These are the 3 items that we're going to go for. At the end of this video as well, in the last section, I'm going to show you some really useful and cool Google Business Profile automations that I highly recommend you do. You can even sell those automations as a service. So for the fundamentals of Google Business Profile, these are the quick fire rounds things that you need to do. You obviously need to claim and verify your profile. That is a non-negotiable. That is the one thing that unfortunately I cannot show you here because you need to have a physical office, and it's getting a little bit harder and harder these days to claim a Google Business Profile because there's been so many people trying to scam it. But you can do it if your business is legit. That's okay. I've just got a brand new Google Business Profile that has already been claimed that we're going to go through here. You need to add all primary and secondary categories in which your business fits in. I've got a GPT that's going to help you do that. You need to actively request reviews from your customers. If you get anything from that, it's that. You can automate this as much as you want, like sending a text message when your service is completed. But we've automated this each and every way that we can think of. And every time, the thing that works best is you as a service provider or your employees is asking for a review afterwards. I'm going to make that very easy for you as well. You need to respond to both negative and positive reviews. We're going to automate this in the last section of this tutorial. You're going to upload a post at least once a week. You're going to upload fresh images regularly. The goal is to get to 100 images. In the next slide, I'm going to explain why that is such a key number. Essentially, you need to treat your Google Business Profile like another social media account. It needs to be active and you need to start responding to people as much as possible. Now, let's touch on this quickly. Why do we want to upload images? Well, I try to do everything from a data-driven approach. There was a study done by Bright Local that shows there is an incredible correlation between the Google Business Profiles that have over 100 images and the amount of website visits, direction requests, and calls they get, essentially conversions they get. So you see here, it's indicated by the number of images of Google Business Profiles. When you get plus 100, everything, the website visits, the direction requests, and the calls seem to shoot up exponentially. So that is your goal now, to get 100 images. Again, we're going to automate that at the end of this tutorial from Instagram to Google Business Profile. But for now, let's go to a Google Business account. I've got this one here, again, not my client, just a friend of ours, but they've left this aside. So I thought, great, this is a fantastic opportunity for me to try and help. One of the main things that gets really difficult is filling out this whole thing with correct information. We don't know what the primary categories are, what the secondary categories are, and they are very, very important. So let's optimize this Google Business Profile together. I'm going to grab the link of the website and I'm going to go to a custom GPT. And the custom GPT is a Google Business Profile category finder. There are so many different categories and sometimes we can't keep track of them all. So I've downloaded a CSV document from Google telling me all the official categories. And this is going to help us find those and see which ones are relevant. You're going to give it the URL. If you don't have the URL, you're going to give it as much information as you can about the business. So I already found the categories for me. Excuse me. So it's reviewed the GPT guidance and the documentation that I've given it. So it's given us a couple of things. So primary ones, disability service and support organizations. So let's see if we can find that one there. And we're going to add the category here, disability and support organization. So it was right there. Perfect. We're going to save that. And what we're going to do as well is we're going to add more categories. You can add more categories as long as they're relevant. So let's go back to the GPT and see what it told us before. You can see that it's given us all the primary location, the primary categories and the secondary categories. So cleanup services, gardening services, mental health services. I know that'll definitely be in there. You need to see the categories will change depending on where you are in the world as well, but perfect. We've got mental health services. So that is another secondary category. Let's go therapeutic gardening services. I wonder if that's going to be in there. And sometimes you won't be able to place it in there. Save, we do that category. That's fine. Let's do the other ones here. And you want to add as many as possible. It will pen for a little while because it needs to verify that. So Gardener and Mental Services, it needs to see if that's correct. The next thing here, as you can see, the business name is fine. The category is pending. What about the description? Well, if you don't have one, you can see that the GPT has kind of helped us out and said, hey, do you want a description? We can just say yes, absolutely. And it should give us a description as well. Perfect. Let's see if that's going to fit within it. It might be a tad too long, but let's see. No, perfect. So it's just got to fit under 770 characters, 750 characters, sorry. Try to put the opening date, as much information, the better. I think this was 2020. Let's just go January day 1, save. The phone number, the chat you can add if you've got, if you often use your WhatsApp or your phone number. For this, I'll leave it alone because I know they don't like to do that. You can see here, we've got a couple of things here. So we can hide the address from businesses. So sometimes we don't want to show our addresses. Maybe it's our own home, the office. So you can kind of get rid of that. And in the service area, it's really important that you not only put the main area, so in this instance, Melbourne, but they also go through the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So let's see the ones that we want to concentrate, right? Perfect. So I know it's these ones here. So Ringwood, for example, we want to add those categories in there. We're going to go Ringwood, Victoria, Australia. Fantastic. Let's have a look. We want to go to Croydon, and you want to go and do these things as well. Victoria, make sure it's the right suburb of the right country as well. You don't want to get this thing confused. Perfect. And so on and so forth. So let's say you're a plumber. You want to put in all the service areas, not only the city, but the suburbs or the locations, whatever they're called in your part of the world, the boroughs, let's say. And so on, Vermont. See, this is why you need to be careful. There's a Vermont in USA and in Victoria as well. I want to make sure it's Victoria, Australia. Great. And again, it's pending. It'll take a little while from this. So from the business and the crowd, let's add from the business. Identified as women owned, sure. And we're going to save that. Perfect. Cool. So now we've added as much information as possible. There's never too little information. There's even the crowd one. Let's see what it suggests. LGBTQ plus friendly. Sure. Let's do that. Great. Perfect. So we've edited the profile. That's fantastic. Now, the other thing that you want to do is upload photos. Like we said, we want to get to 100 photos, but start off with right away when you get it, whether that's your service, the people that you work with, your employees, whatever photos you can take of your business and put it up here. Remember, treat this like a social media profile. So I've gone to the website and I've just got a couple of images here. So I'm going to save image as therapeutic gardening in Melbourne. These are pending. Obviously, they need to make sure that it's okay. You can add a logo and a cover photo. So let's see the cover photo that we can add. We can probably use the same one on the website. Great. And the logo as well. Let's see what we had to do that for the photos. Perfect. Now we've edited the profile. The logo is taking a little while to get approved, but that's okay. So the other thing that you want to do, we've added a lot of photos. The next thing is post. Now this is part of when I said treat this like a social media profile. You can add a lot of certain types of posts. For example, if we go to posts here, and at the end, the last section, I'm going to show you how to automate this. You can add a post and you can add an update, whatever that might be. You can add an offer. So let's say you have Black Friday sales or end of year financial years. Let's say you're having an event here. Please add those in there. Do not forget about this. This is something that often gets underlooked and it can be an incredibly strong strategy to do. It's one of those assets as well that should your website ever go down, hopefully it doesn't, you still have your Google Business profile with the updates, with the offer that's going to continuously get you leads. But one of the main things that you can do is add an update. So what can be an update? I think an easy thing to do is just to rewrite your blog content in less than 1,500 characters in length and place it in there. So let's do that right now very quickly. So they've got a blog here of why is hoarding bad? So what is it actually going to do to you and what should you do, right? So I'm going to just copy this whole thing. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to paste the content in there and I'm going to say this very, very easy prompt. I'm going to say, rewrite this for a Google My Business post. Make sure that it follows the same tone of voice and it adds the same value from the blog post, and make sure that it's less than 1,450 characters in length. The reason why I said 1,450 characters in length and not 1,500 is because I want to give myself a little bit of leeway. Right, so here's a polished version. So I can grab that. I can go back to the Google Business profile, place it in there. Now I can add a button here, and I can either do that to call us, sign up, whatever you want it to do. What I'm going to do actually is learn more, and I'm going to link it to the actual blog post. That way, if somebody wants to learn a little bit more, they can do it. It's also a sneaky little way to get a little bit more traffic to your website. You want to add an image there. So let's select one of the images from the website, and I'm just going to drop it in there, and I'm going to post it. So now on the post, if I go, it's submitted there, it's reviewing, and in a second it should come up there already. You want to do that at least once a week. It's really important to do that. If you do have certain products, this is where you place it in there. They don't, unfortunately. We can edit the services. So the services is really, really important that you do. So custom service here, for example, we have therapeutic gardening. We have a support coordination. So this is NDIS support coordination. And you see how this wasn't a subcategory in the main categories of the business, but we can place it as a service we provide. That's really important for you to do if you can't add it underneath the secondary categories. Perfect. So that's the main things that they have: therapeutic gardening and NDIS support coordination. Fantastic. They also help with actually hoarding and squalor. So let's do the whole thing. Great. So now I've added all these services there. Fantastic. You need to make sure that the services that are listed in Google Business Profile, they're also mentioned on the website. They do need to correlate. So I've done the services. If you do have a direct booking button, you can add that link there. So let's say you have a button to submit your form or call you, or a Calendly link to make a meeting. That's where you place it in there. They don't, so I'm going to leave that alone. There is a Q&A section. This is a little bit tricky because there's no point of you asking those questions, but you need to get people to ask those questions. If you've got a friend or not, I would highly recommend they ask you the most frequently asked questions about your service so you can answer those. So what we're going to do is ask for reviews. This is one of the final sections on the Google Business Profile Optimization. This is one of the most important things. You have your review link here and you have your QR code, which is really important. You can also make your own QR code if you don't want to download that. So I can save that as an image, for example, and I'm going to go to QR code for my inclusion for Google Business Profile. This QR code you can place in your pamphlets, in your card, but make it really, really easy for the reviewer to actually access it, right? So I'm going to be recording on my phone. So I'm going to show you what this looks like leaving a review here. So now I'm on my phone, I'm recording, and I open the camera app. I'm going to scan that. I'm going to press that button. Then you can see that that's taking me instantly to leave a review for that Google Business Profile, right? That is what you want. That's how easy you want to make it to the user to leave a review, right? Don't make it any harder. Don't tell them to, hey, can you look us up on Google Business Profile? Please do not do that. Just make it very easy for them. That's going to help your life out quite a lot. We've claimed it. We added the primary, secondary categories. We're asking for reviews from our customers with our QR code. We respond to negative and positive. We're going to post updates like I just showed you once a week. You're going to upload fresh images like we just did as well. And you're going to treat it like a social media profile. With those fundamentals, you are not going to fail with Google My Business. Okay, the next is local citations. This is local backlinks, links from websites that are in the same country, in the same location. The main thing that you need to keep in mind here is ensure a NAP consistency. NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. That needs to stay the same across all the directories. I'm going to show you how to find directories as well. You want to keep them updated, but that's the main thing. You don't have to do this once a month. Once every year or once at least 6 months, you can probably do this and it's going to be enough. So I'm going to show you how to get free ones, and then I'm going to show you how to hand it off to a service that's very well known that does this automatically for you. And if you want to provide this as a service, you can also hand it off to that service as well. Let me show you what I mean. This is the Local Listings Pro, a custom GPT that you can just give it your business URL or the website information, and it's going to show you all the relevant free online business directories that you can get. It's going to ask you a few questions about It's going to ask you a few questions about the business, just ensure that it finds the right ones for you. And you're going to hit enter, yes or no, or tell us some information. So perfect. I've got a couple of listings here. Clickability, disability providers, my care space, and a bunch of other ones. And I'm going to say, great, now give me normal listings. And now it's got a bunch that are a little bit more broad, but still really good and still local to Australia. So we've got True Local, hotfrog.com.au, Start Local Aussie Web, and you get the idea. So I would recommend you put this into a Google Sheet, for example. You can do this with every client if you want. You're going to paste it in here. Let's get the directory name, the URL, and let's make the notes here. Let's clean this up. A little rule on the drop down, and we're going to say done. So we'll pick a random one here. We're going to pick aussieweb.com. That is this website here. I can't show you all of them because everyone's slightly different in how you need to update the information to the website. But usually they'll all have add your business button. It'll be either in the main menu or somewhere at the bottom. You can see here that you just need to add all your information, the same for all of them. So the email, business verification person, who's the owner, the business information, the phone number, website. The main thing is to keep that consistency of the NAP, the name, address, and the phone number. It does take a little while to go through all of them, but it does make a huge difference, particularly if it's a brand new business website. It'll get more trust by having local citations. So let's say we did Aussie Web. I just want to go here and go done, so I make sure that I don't go back and have to do it again when it's already processed. Now, if you are doing this for more than one or two businesses, so if it's your own business, you can probably do this yourself manually. It's worth it. If you cannot be bothered or you want to provide this as a service, which many agencies do, and a lot of them use this exact service, you can go to Bright Local and go to Citation Builder. Local Citation Builder is what we're doing here. And they're telling you that you're enhancing your visibility, which you actually do. What you want to make sure before you get this service is you want to make sure that the countries that you support is the country that you're doing this local SEO for. If it's not in there, you're either going to have to go to somewhere to Fiverr to find someone that will do this for you. This is something that I would trust someone in Fiverr to do it because it's not extremely complicated. And yeah, if you go to the pricing stuff, just so you get an understanding here, you are doing about $3.20 per site. So you can do over 1,000 sites apparently, although that sounds a little bit too much with this, for, around $2,000 or $200. But it really depends, you can pick, right? So what a lot of agencies tend to do is they just add a surcharge, so an extra 50% or $10 per site, and they get Bright Local to do it. These are probably the only guys that I would trust with local citations. You can book a demo, you can call out to them, but if you can't be bothered doing it yourself, you can always outsource it to someone like this. And finally, to keep it nice and easy, we need to optimize the website for locality. This is really easy, and maybe I've overcomplicated this with this whole thing, but essentially what you really want to do is make sure that every single page or services, if you're a local business, has the local name to it. Let me show you what I mean here. So if I'm looking at this same business, My Inclusion, and they offer therapeutic gardening, that is okay. But the thing here is, whilst it's a .com.au website, which indicates it's in Australia, it's not granular enough. We really need to hone down that it should be therapeutic gardening in Melbourne, right? And even if we do have a look at the metadata, I'm going to tell you how to get this little plugin in a second. Don't go ahead and get it now. But the title tag here just says therapeutic gardening. So when you are building these websites or when you want to optimize it, you just need to make sure that you add that locality keyword to it. So it should be therapeutic gardening in Melbourne, professional therapeutic gardening services in Melbourne, and it's got to be between 45 and 61 characters in length. Same thing with the headings. It just says therapeutic gardening. Ideally, I want to add that Melbourne aspect to it. Fundamentally, that is the main thing when it comes to making your website a little bit more optimized for locality. Or this is a dog training business in Melbourne as well. It's got .com.au, and it's kind of got the same issue here. We're actually going to optimize this website a little bit more, but you can see that it just says empowering your dog to success. It's not really definitive of where this is. If we have a look at the title, it just says ethical dog training. Ideally, again, we want to add that local keyword to it. All right, there's one tool here that I'm going to give you as well. It's another GPT, and it's the local business website analyzer, right? So this is you're going to give it the website, and it's going to crawl through it. It's going to take a look at the website and understand the main services you offer. You might have to prompt it to actually take a look at the site itself and crawl it. But this is already going to tell you what it found in the site. So puppy school, including puppy training, leash reactivity, general obedience, and that's all this stuff they have. So now you need to confirm a few things. So yes, those are the services and those are the locations that I want to concentrate on. So here now it's giving us an understanding of what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And it's going to give us a page-by-page review. So the location of the homepage, or it doesn't mention Fern Tree Gully, which is the location, or Boronia in the H1 title, for example. Gives you an opportunity. It even tells you dog training in Upper Fern Tree Gully. So it's going to give you a whole step-by-step guide on what you need to do to make your website more locally friendly. Don't trust this blindly, but it's going to give you a really good start for you to start optimizing your website from a more local aspect. And the last thing I want you to remember is that the services and the locations in which you say you offer and where you offer need to match on your website as well as in your Google Business profile. That is those things. So with those three main things, which is Google Business profile, local citations, and optimizing the website from a local perspective, you will do really, really well when it comes to local SEO. Next, we have the thing that terrifies a lot of people, which is technical SEO. This is very, very important, like the rest, really, but I want to simplify it. Now, I want to make it very clear that this is what I think technical SEO is. If you need to start coding or really change some critical components of the actual website, change the theme and whatnot, then that's really the web developer's kind of responsibility. I don't believe that falls under the SEO's responsibility. That being said, what I'm going to do is really narrow it down into the next 4 following points for technical SEO. These are the things that I look at, what I consider technical SEO. There are more things you can focus in, but I think with these 4 main fundamentals, you can really make the most of a website. Now, here's the main thing of why we want to do technical SEO in a bit of an audit. I think the best way I can explain this is with a metaphor. Is a lot of people's websites, or a lot of people want to compete in Formula 1, let's say, but their car is a Prius. So their website's a little bit the same, where if you're in a very competitive niche and your competitors have a really good technical and on-site SEO, your website needs to be up to standard. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to compete hard as you try. And technical SEO is a very important component. So we're going to go through the basics. That being said, the first one that we're going to check out is website loading time speed. And this is really important because your website feels faster to you. That's because when you go on a website quite frequently, and we often go on our own websites quite frequently, modern web browsers like Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, etc., they'll save the files locally on your computer so that next time that you go on that website, it can just spin them up a lot quicker. Now, the difference is when somebody new goes onto your website, the images, the CSS, everything else has to be called from the actual hosting platforms and the service. So that will take slower. And first impressions really matter when it comes to your website. So you want to make sure that your website is really quick. So you want to test it with different tools to make sure that you get an unbiased opinion. The way to do that, in my opinion, is with 2 website loading time speed, and there's 2 free ones that I recommend. GTmetrix tends to be the industry standard when it comes to website loading time speed, and you also have Google's version. I'm going to leave you both. The reason why I want to test with 2 tools is because you want to have 100% assurity that your website is actually loading really quickly or really slowly. Sometimes you get really different results, and if that's the case, then the error might be somewhere else. So let's get the website that we've been working on for a little bit, and I'll show you a relatively good loading website and then a bad one so you understand what it looks like. So I'm going to grab the link there and go to Run, and I'm going to do the same website in Google PageSpeed Insights. GTmetrix is free. They've got a paid version. If you're doing 1, 2, 3 websites, the free version is more than enough. You don't have to buy anything. And Google PageSpeed Insights is completely free. So you see it's analyzing the website. is choosing a server location like Vancouver. You can change the server location with the paid version, but it doesn't really matter. We just want an unbiased opinion on how fast your website or slowly the website is loading. And you can see here that it's given us a report. So it's giving us a grade of B from A, B, C, D, E, F all the way to D. If your website is lower than a B, you've got a problem and you need to sort it out immediately. A slow loading website isn't only critical for SEO, but your conversions, which we're going to go through in this little section as well. But you can see here that it's telling us the website is loading at 1.9 seconds, which is good. If it's loading any slower, it'll tell you here, if it's loading slower than 3 seconds, you've got an issue. You are missing a lot of conversions and you are leaving money on the table. So this is really critical. Now, GT Metrics is kind enough that it gives you a report as to why it might be loading very slowly. So I can see here that I can probably even increase the website loading time speed by optimizing this video, right? I can probably throw it in an optimizer, make sure this is a lot lighter as a file without it losing so much of the quality. That's fine, but it's slowing down the website a little bit. That's already something that I can do. Let's take a look at the other test, Google Page Speed Insights. And I like this because it tells you the difference between mobile and desktop. And you should always optimize for mobile first. Google actually sets the standard of mobile first. It deems that more important than your desktop. And it does that because overall, generally in the internet, people go on the websites on mobile more than on the desktop, unless it's a really B2B type business. But you can see here there's a difference. The mobile is loading way too slow. You want mobile at least at 80, the same with desktop when it comes to Google's components, right? The problem is that for a lot of people, all this data telling you how slowly it's loading can sound a little bit like gibberish, but no problems, I've got you covered. All I want you to do is you want to share this report and you should be able to download it as a PDF, right? So I want you to download that PDF report. And within the resources that I've provided, there is a GT Metrics report analyzer. What this is going to do is just transform all that difficult report from the GT Metrics report into understandable, actionable insights. Let me show you. So I've placed the PDF report in the custom GPT. This is what it looks like, by the way. It's just a direct copy of the other one. And it's got all the information in there. I don't even know what a lot of these things are, and I don't need to know. So I've got that pasted in there and I'm going to hit run. And that custom GPT knows what to do. It's going to take a look at it, understand it, and it should give you easy to understand, somewhat non-technical insights into these are the steps you need to follow to fix your website. It's reviewing quick issues, and it's going to give us a pretty easy report. You can either then do your fixes yourself, or you can give this kind of thing to your website developer if you have one. So it's giving us an overall report, not tragic, not great, room for easy wins. So put your static site behind a CDN. There you go. So compress the images. We're going to help you how to do that. Low priority. So it's giving you a step-by-step on how to fix things. Convert your images to WebP files. I obviously always say that. I said that when we were building the video. Video hygiene on the home page. Compress it, like I said. So it's giving me the same advice that I recommended. And it's even giving you a checklist at the end. So nice and easy to follow, right? Now let me show you what a website looks like when it's loading very slowly. So I know this one I tend to use as an example. I'm going to go back to GT Metrics. I'm just going to get a new report of a new website and paste it in there. And it's going to do the run. Let's do the same with Page Speed Insights. Ideally, they're both loading slowly. If you need, whilst this is loading, if you need a third test just to see what's going on, there's one more free test, which is called Pingdom Tools. And it's always good to have a spare one in case it's both of the test results are really different. At least you have a third one to kind of tell you for sure how the website is loading. So this one is Ethical Dog Training, a website in Australia. We are testing it from Vancouver. Okay. So now this is at a D grade and you see the fully time loaded, it's 9.3 seconds, way too slow. In fact, I would go as far as say it's critically slow, and this is really resulting in really poor SEO and really poor conversions. There's also something else attributing to poor conversions for this website, but we'll get to that in a second. And again, it's going to give us a report. I don't want to go through the report. I'm going to go share. I'm going to go download full report. And again, I'm going to give it to GTmetrix. I want to verify that report with PageSpeed Insights, and PageSpeed Insights also tells me that it's very slow. So out of everything, for example, that I looked at all the websites for this guy, this website, if I was doing a audit, I would tell them that the first thing they need to do is fix the website loading time speed. So I'm going to start a new chat with the same GPT, and I'm going to throw the new report in there, right? Now, I have built you guys a bit of a checklist. So when you are doing your optimization, as you should go through it, one thing that you can do is, for example, you can give it the URL. If you are reviewing, let's say we're reviewing this website here, and we want to copy the URL of the home page, and we want to paste it in there, and we want to say loading slowly, and then we want to say look at report, and we can also copy the report in here. Let's go to GTmetrix, copy link report, and then say the screenshot or link, whatever that is, and the priority is definitely high in there. So it's just a nice little way to keep track of everything. You can make a copy of this. It's a very simple table, don't get excited, but I want you to keep track of it so you keep yourself accountable. You need to fix these things. Let's have a look at the GTmetrix understanding that it gave us. So cool. So this is giving us another report here, high priorities, shrink and modernize your images. So what does this mean? I want to kind of do a tiny bit of image SEO here with you guys together. So if we take a look at the GTmetrix report and we take a look at what's going on, we can see here the URLs. It kind of tells you what's the culprit. And one of the culprits is the fact that this PNG image is way too heavy. You can see how slow the image is loading, and my internet's not that bad. So how do I fix this? There's two ways you can fix this. You can download the image. So I'm going to save the image, a smiling dog, and then you can convert it to a WebP file, right? And you convert it to a WebP file. If you've got some sort of plugin, you can do that automatically in your backend. It depends what kind of website builder that you have, but a simple way to do this is to upload it into Convert.io. You can go to WebP and you can convert it, right? And I'll show you the difference between the file sizes in a second, but that's going to convert it to a WebP. That file, WebP, was developed by Google to keep websites speedy on the internet. It doesn't reduce the quality, it just makes it more friendly, a lot more lighter. So I'm going to download that. So now if I go to both here, yeah, and that is the PNG, that's the WebP file. So I'm going to put them side by side so you can see that they don't really change in quality whatsoever, right? So the one on the left is the PNG, the one on the right is the WebP, and I think they're practically the same, right? But when it goes to how light or big they are, the WebP file is now miles and miles lighter. I mean, from 3.3 megabytes to 1.8 kilobytes, like insanely lighter. Now, there might be the case where you're in a weird website builder that doesn't take a WebP file because it's a relatively new file format. If that's the case, your only other option is to compress the WebP file, and you can use something like TinyPNG. For example, I'm going to drop the PNG file in here. You can do up to 10 free images, I think, a day or more. And this is going to start converting it and optimizing and not converting it. You can see it's saved 70%. So it's reduced the file size to 77%. Perfect. So you can do that, upload that image, delete the other one from your website. Quick optimization. So that's the first thing you should do when it comes to technical SEO. Next one is the metadata. So we're looking at things like title tags, H1, meta descriptions, and a clear structure. I think this just comes with time understanding this, but we're going to go through quickly in a couple of sites that you can determine the difference, what a good one looks like and what a bad one looks like. To do this, we want to download a free tool, and the tool is called SEO Wallet. I've got it in this tab here. Again, this is going to be in the assets where I'm leaving everything. I want you to install this. Once you install the SEO Wallet extension, 100% free, one of the handiest tools I use every day. You want to go to the website that you are reviewing. So let's have a look at Align Lending. If I put my mouse all the way to the left, you're going to see a blue bar come out. That is the extension. And we get an overview right away. This is the metadata. So mortgage brokers in Michigan, Align Lending, that's not too bad. We've got what they do, the location, Align Lending, the meta description as well. The only thing I would change here is to add a call to action in the meta description. So apply now, get your free consultation, whatever that is. I want you to go to the heading optimization. You see here that I've got a H1 that says homepage, and then another H1 that says align your dreams of home ownership. Two things here. Technically, every single page should only have one H1. You can have multiple H2s, multiple H3s, but generally, the main thing is having one H1. It's not the end of the world if you have multiples, but try to keep it with one. And the second thing is that your H1 is not a tagline. This, for example, align your dreams of ownership. That is a tagline because H1 is a really important keyword for SEO association. What we're doing here is essentially telling Google a really important keyword that I want to associate myself with is align your dreams of ownership. And the reality is that nobody in the world is doing that search, right? So really what should be in the H1 is, mortgage experts or home mortgage experts in Michigan, right? That's the key word there. And then that is fine as a H3, H4, whatever, but a H1 is really important. That's the main thing out of that. You can have a look at the other things. You can always ask GPT what these other things mean, but I just wanted you to concentrate on those things. So again, making sure that the overview looks okay, that if that's too long, that's gonna look red. The same thing with this, the meta description, add a call to action at the end, and make sure the H1s are in alignment. One more thing here, you see how this section here goes from H2 to a H4, and it's in red. That's because the best structure from this is sequential, meaning it's got to go from H1 to H2 to H3, then to H4. Again, those little items aren't probably going to make you rank one overnight, but we want to start kind of joining these little 1% improvements. So that, for the most part, is your metadata done. You want to go through each page and understand that they all are doing the right thing, have the right keyword, and that sort of things. The more you do that, the more you kind of get the hang of it. So that just kind of comes with practice. I want to show you another one here. So the same one, the ethical dog training. And we see here that for the heading stuff, they start with a H2 and it moves to empower your dog to success. I know they're a dog training business in Melbourne, Australia, and they don't mention any of that. So you can see now why they might not be getting the right traffic is because, well, we're not really telling Google to associate ourselves with the right keywords. And the title tag says home ethical dog training. There's missing a meta description. So we start seeing, well, okay, if we're adding all these errors, of course, we're not really ranking very well, right? And if you add all these things positively, they're going to make a big difference. The other thing that I want you to check, and this is going to be the most technical thing out of this whole tutorial, and that is schema, right? Now, schema is essentially a bit of code that tells these search engines instantly and exactly what is on your page without guessing. It's not to say that without schema you won't rank, but with schema you're making the search engine's job a lot easier. We've seen a lot of businesses just improve their rankings by adding the right schema. And it scares people a little bit because when I show you the code, it seems really weird, but it isn't. It's really quite simple. So let me show you how to find it and where you would place it. So if I have a look at Align Lending and I look at our trusty SEO wallet, there's a section here that says structured data. So structured data is also called schema or schema markup. Same thing. And you can see that it's found different types of schemas. Place schema, financial organization schema, website schema. So it's telling Google in a JSON file format, which it loves, exactly what this business is about. So there's no confusing, you've got the postal code, the address, and all the things. So it's a lot easier for Google to understand these things. So this one has the right schema. Let's have a look at one that might not have the right schema. Now, I've purposely gone on like the third page of the search term home loans in Michigan to find this page, this website here. Because if I go and I look at the schema, they have no schema. Is that the reason why they're not ranking? It's probably one of them, but I wanted to do that so I could show you. Another test that you can do is an official test from Google, going rich results test. So I'm going to test the website that doesn't have any schema into it, so I can show you what that looks like, right? There's also, I'll leave this schema.org validator thing here. It tells you all the different types of schemas. Essentially, for everything that you can think of, there's probably a schema. For reviews, for a plumbing service, a law service, whatever you think there's the right schema, the more niche the schema, the better you giving an understanding of Google of what it is that you have. Local business schema is really important as well. It's a little bit complicated, but it's really well worth getting your head around. Let's go back to the validator here, rich results test. Okay, so there is some schema here, and perfect. I'm glad that there was a bit of disconnection. This is why it's good checking the data from two different things. I blindly trusted our tool, data for SEO wallet, sorry, but there actually is some schema here. Local business and organization, but I know they're missing one. Now, for me, there is way too many different types of schemas that I can remember. And I don't have to, right? Just with a simple prompt, I can understand all the ones that I need. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to make sure that I've got enabled web search. I'm going to paste the URL that we might be doing some SEO for. And I'm going to say this simple prompt. Have a look at this website and tell me all the different schemas that it needs from an SEO perspective. It's that simple. If you're wondering, by the way, this little tool here is called Super Whisper. I know I'm going to get people asking me. I'm going to give that to ChatGPT. It's going to understand the contents of the website, and it's telling me I need organization or better, bank or credit union schema, local business schema, financial product schema, mortgage loan schema. So there's all these different types of schemas that will only help the website. Let me show you what the code looks like. So I say, build the local business schema. And that is what the code looks like. Now, what you need to do is inject that into the header of that page. What I want to make clear here is that one schema just on the home page isn't enough, because all these different products, for example, they have different schemas because the on-page content is different, and therefore it requires different schema that explains what's on the content of that individual page. Do I need schema for absolutely everything? My contact, my about page? No, just the money pages or the pages that we did transactional research for. You see how I'm joining everything together? That's not bad, actually. But you get the idea. So not for everything, but for your most important pages. How you add it to the page header is really dependent on the CMS. So you're going to have to GPT that or Google that, I'm afraid. But that's the main thing that I want you to realize, that schema. Get that into your head. The final thing in technical SEO, and a lot of people don't consider this as SEO at all, but I do. I think it's really important. And that is conversion rate optimization. How many conversions you're getting for the traffic that you're getting. A good ranking website is kind of useless if it's not converting really well. Because sometimes when we're doing SEO, whilst we wait for SEO to kind of take action and start increasing our traffic, what we can start doing is getting more leads for the same amount of traffic that we're getting. And that's the art of conversion rate optimization. I used to work with a guy that was so good at this, he could just look at a site and improve the conversion right away. I'm not as good, and you're probably not that good as well, but that's okay. I've prepared a GPT to help you out with this. Let's go through the basics first, right? So the main thing with conversion rate optimization is you need to always consider to never underestimate stupidity in large numbers, particularly in the internet. And although that sounds terrible, but what I mean here is you need to make it stupidly simple for somebody to understand instantly and exactly what is on your page, what your business is, and the action that you want them to take. So for example, I'm doing this as a clear comparison between this one and this one, the same service, but I can guarantee that these guys are going to get a lot more conversions simply because the second I land on the site, it's a bunch of dogs and it says Melbourne's #1 dog trainers, get started. It's telling me what to do. Okay, perfect, great. Whereas this one just says empowering your dog to success. Okay, what do you want me to do? And I know you might think that sounds silly. You clearly scroll. The thing is that if you add any type of heat mapping software like Hotjar, Microsoft Clarity, I can guarantee that the more you get people to scroll, the more you lose people, right? So you want to make it instantly clear what they're supposed to be doing. So right away, I would add a call to action here saying contact us now, something like that. So have a look at your website and see if you made it really clear. One other thing that I personally don't like is too many calls to action. It's called the paradox of choice. It's a bit like when you go into Netflix to watch something and there's a billion things to watch, so you end up watching the same reruns of Friends or you don't know what to watch. Here, the same thing. I know they offer these 3 services, so they want to do that, but I would really focus on one call to action. And I can guarantee that the conversion rate will increase. So this is all well and good, but what happens if this doesn't come naturally to you? And that's okay. What I want you to do is I want you to get this Chrome extension that is called Go Full Page. It takes a screenshot of the entire page, right? We're going to take a screenshot and you see it's going through and taking an entire screenshot of the page. We then want to download it as a PNG. And then I have a custom GPT that's going to help you here. We're going to turn it into GPT-5 auto, if you can, if you've got it available. And I'm going to drop the screenshot here. And I'm also going to give it the URL. I don't think you can do 2 at once, but it might look at the screenshot and go through the URL as well. And it should give you a bit of advice. That's the beautiful thing about O models. They can do a lot of things. They can look at an image and tell you. Perfect. So let's read the first sentence and see if I was right with anything, right? So it says, first impression of value proposition issue. The hero headline says empowering your dog to success, which is cute but vague, and I couldn't agree more. Success at what? Obedience, behavior, correction, peace of mind. A visitor shouldn't have to scroll to guess what's on offer. Again, I couldn't agree more. Why it matters? People bounce if they don't instantly know. So here are the recommendations. Write the headline to be crystal clear. Positive dog training for obedience, reactivity, and anxiety. A subline, helping your dog thrive with ethical, reward-based training, and add a visible call to action. CTA, book a consultation, see training program. So it's already said all the things that I kind of said. And you can read through it here. So do this exercise with your website or any websites that you're trying to do. Particularly in the first fold, it's really important. Your website might really convert really well, and that's fine. And the types of the conversion rate, whether it's 1.4, 2%, 3%, really changes between the niche. So I can't really give you a good conversion number. But do this exercise and you're going to get more conversions for the traffic that you are already getting. And I think for me, those 4 elements, if you just go through those, your website will thank you for it. You're not only going to rank higher, but you're going to get more conversions as a result. The next section that we're going to touch on is link building or backlinking. This seems to be the black magic of SEO. People either run away from it because it can get a little bit scary, or they just don't want to touch it because they don't know how to do it. And I think it can be summarized in really 4 main things that I've got here. The first one is, I believe there are 2 main ways to get some backlinks. Sure, there are more, but these are the main 2. You can either do it yourself by doing the manual outreach, trying to do guest posts, partnerships, PR, local outreach. This takes some time. Yes, you can automate this, like automate the manual or the outreach, but I've seen some absolute horror stories when you do that. So if you're going to do your own backlinking, be careful. And in a second, I'm going to show you how to get started with that. And number two is outsource it to a trusted entity. The dirty little secret of SEO is that any agency that you've hired, there's probably a 99% chance that they just bought the backlink from someone else, another website that does that only, or another agency that does that. Because the truth is that good backlinking takes some time. You need the connections. You need to have a bit of a network of websites that you can reach out to. And if you don't have that, it can be very difficult. I buy backlinks all the time. Just make sure you do it from reputable sources. Again, I'm going to show you a couple of sources that I recommend. I buy links all the time and it works great when done correctly. The main thing that you need to know is that quality will always beat quantity, right? So one relevant backlink from a high reputable website beats 100 spammy backlinks. If you've been in this space for long enough, you might have seen an ad or somebody might have approached you saying, hey, I can get you 1,000 backlinks for $100 or $1,000. If that's the case, politely run the other way. The thing here is that if your website gets associated with really bad quality backlinks or websites, then your website's just going to be one of those bad quality websites. Relevance is also key here. You want to aim for sites within your industry, locality, or at least your niche. For example, if you have a website that is all about how to train dogs and you provide that as a service, maybe don't get a link from a website that sells computer gaming gear. It just doesn't make any contextual relevance. So some quick red flags to avoid is if somebody comes to you with a cheap link building package, it's not to say that it's always going to be bad if it's cheap, but that should be a red flag for you to really do the due diligence and check the quality of those links. Again, irrelevant sites with zero opportunity, do not get those. And if a website has a sudden spike in backlinks and it wasn't natural, there's an issue there. At least there's something that you need to dive in further. So, all well and good. How do we get our first set of backlinks if we don't want to pay for them? Well, a very simple and easy strategy that you can do is get yourself on featured.com. Featured have bought out a website that used to be called Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. And essentially what they do is they place publishers with subject matter experts. They ask questions, and if the subject matter expert answers that questions in detail, they'll get sourced and get a backlink in return. I've done it many times and got a few free backlinks that are high quality. Let me show you how it works. You're going to create an account. Whilst they've got a paid version, you can get the free version and allow you to submit, I think, 3 questions a month. Now, the main thing here is to have a look at the questions tab, delete all the categories, and here you can see the publicators. So you see Business Insider, for example, is asking a question. Obviously, not all the questions are going to be something that you can answer, so you have to filter through these. What I would do is put yourself a reminder to once a month, at the beginning of the month or at the end, to go through these and use your 3 free answers or questions. Here you see I've got 3 out of 3 remaining. They've got a lot of paid features that allows you to answer as many as you want, but we'll leave that for another video. So for example, I want to go through and see what I can actually answer because it's in my expertise. And if you look down, sometimes you'll see that your profile appears in one of them. And that's because they have seen or they think that this is a question that relates to you. Let's have a quick look here. Some years ago, the maker movement was very prominent. There's even a magazine, Make, Focus Concept. I'm curious how companies are currently using the concept to spur innovation in a way, technology like AI or AI generation. That's why they thought it was to me, but let's keep going, see what else I can find. If I like a question and I want to try and answer it later, this one's one that I feel pretty comfortable with. So how to improve conversion rate of landing page for a local service business? Please give us a real example, result from and after. Perfect. I've actually got some real world experience for that. So I'm going to save this one and I'm going to show you where they get saved later on. You'll see here, let's see one more. This is another one that I might feel comfortable answering because it's about AI automation. So I'm going to save that as well. You can go through, do this at least once a month. I think there's another one that was going to be a little bit better for me. No, it looks like that's all the rest. So now let's go and see if we can answer the ones that we selected. I'm going to go to the filters and I'm just going to go to saved. They'll also tell you, if you've got the paid version of feature.com, it'll tell you the domain authority that they have, so you can check right away. But you can check with any of the tools that I provided it, even with the free tool of Ahrefs, for example. So here, if I go marketingsherpa.com, I can just go to a free tool like Ahrefs, free SEO tools, just if I'm doing this search. I want to do the due diligence, and let's go to website authority checker. Now again, these tools shouldn't be used as an absolute source of truth. The authority can be a lot higher here, but this one's great. So domain authority of 83. So this one's a pretty good one if I get a backlink, and it's Marketing Sherpa. So it's about marketing. If I get a backlink to this, it makes sense for me to do so, right? Perfect. So let's go back here and see where I've got it saved. How to improve your conversion rate on landing page for local services. Perfect. So I can answer this question really well. So one of our community members in AI ranking, Will, he actually increased the title tag and the meta description, and that already increased the click-through rate from the search engine results page to the title tag. And then we added another tool called VWO, which is a A/B testing tool, and you just test the color of the CTA and you see which one works better. So if I wanted to use ChatGPT for this, I can, but I'm just going to say, one of the main things that people forget about is increasing the click-through rates from the search engine results page to your actual page. You can do this by, in the meta description, adding a nice call to action at the end. This all needs to be within 155 characters in length. And ideally, if it's separate from your competition, have a look at what the search engine results page looks like for that search term. And if it's different, you'll increase your click-through rate incredibly. And it's okay if it sounds a little human. I actually like that. And then the second note, number 2, is you can add a free software like Microsoft Clarity and VWO. And what you want to concentrate on is testing one thing at a time. You want to just test the call to action on the landing page. Does submit your free form or does call us now work better? And that's the main thing that I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to submit. Now, when I've submit that answer, it's not that I'm going to get that backlink right away. You see that it's in review, meaning the publishers need to read it. And if they like my answer, then they'll publish it and I'll get a backlink as a result. You can see here that I've had 4 of my answers published by pretty good websites, SEO, SMO company, backlinking building, and all these other ones. So it's great. I just put a reminder once a month to do this, just like I've done. The key is within the answers, which I didn't do really well now that I think about it, but never mind, is to try and add your own experience, because that'll set you apart from everyone else trying to do this. So great, now you know how to get your own backlinks if you don't want to pay for backlinks. Now, if you do have a little bit of a budget, which hopefully you're watching this and you do, what I recommend is you either go with Get Me Links or the Hoff. My personal favorite is Get Me Links. Full disclosure, I have worked with them quite a bit. I know the current CEO, this gentleman here, he goes by Alejandro Meyerhans, and I'll actually leave his YouTube video below because he offers some incredible words of wisdom when it comes to backlinking. I highly recommend you watch that. It's a channel that gets little views, but it's so much value. Anyway, what they do here is you can get a free backlinking strategy call. It's completely risk-free. So they'll show you, well, looking at your website, what they recommend when it comes to backlinks. So you don't even have to kind of go with them, but I highly recommend you even do the link building strategy. They're going to drop some absolute wisdom for you. Now, they've got a lot of different kind of packages in different industries. You can get links, link insertions, tiered links, and they can explain all this to you. There's also different industries, some of them which are usually difficult to get a backlink from. But remember in the beginning of this section about backlinking, I said it needs to be industry related. They've got more industries than these, but at least you can see that they've segmented already in the industries that they feel really comfortable with. If you look down, they've got some packages here. You can always start with a slow burner. That'll get you a couple of links to get started with, but they'll give you the best kind of package that they recommend. Once you create an account, log in and submit your first link package, which I recommend you do after the meeting you have with them. By the way, you talk to a real person, it's not AI. Once you complete it, this is kind of what the orders will look like. They'll let you know, they'll let you know what the anchor text is, the target URL, meaning your URL that you wanted people to link to. And they'll also give you the website that they linked from. So it's really easy to understand. I would highly recommend it. The thing here is that you don't see the return of investment of backlinking for another 3, sometimes to 6 months. So it can be a very difficult investment to make. It's very different from something like PPC and things like that. But the reality is that I can kind of guarantee that any agency that you've gotten to get your backlinks in the past, they have had or they've handed it off to an agency like Get Me Links. For all disclosure as well, just because I work with these guys, the link in the description for Get Me Links is an affiliate link. You don't pay any extra. I think you actually get a discount, and if you do get it, I get paid. But I just want to be very, very clear here. I don't want to hide anything. So that's the main thing. And to finalize this, you can also go to the Hoth. Let's have a quick look here. Just so I'm offering another one, and I'm not just offering the guys that I go with, so it doesn't seem too one-sided. They're also fantastic. I have worked with them in the past. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm just more affiliated with Get Me Links because I work with them more. I'm a bit more comfortable with them. But these two you can go for. Again, they're not cheap, right? But if you're in a competitive niche, and if you saw in the beginning when we did the competitor research and your competitor has, 10 times the backlinks you do, then it's going to be probably very difficult for you to compete against them without a bit of a backlinking strategy. So that's why it's good doing that competitor analysis at the beginning. It'll give you an understanding of, well, they have more backlinks and coincidentally a lot more traffic and leads, therefore I probably need to concentrate with this. The reality is that the backlinks in for the internet, I think we'll summarize it with this, is that backlinks are the trust signals of the internet, and they still really do matter. Because if you think about it, the more external websites are linking to you for a specific keyword, it's the more that the search engines can say, well, okay, if a lot of reputable websites are pointing to this site for a certain topic, then it must mean that because they link to them, they trust them enough. And essentially, that's what it is. It's a really important trust metrics. The more people link to you, aka the more people trust you, the more Google is willing, or any other AI search engine is willing to rank you higher. It's that simple. Before we move on, I also want to show you quickly how to kind of spot a bad link or a red flag. For this, you will need some sort of application like Ahrefs, SEMrush, something that will help you analyze or visualize this. Now, Ahrefs have a cheap plan. I think it's $29 a month. You can get that for a little bit. I'll leave a link for you below. They kind of hide that cheaper plan, which they're very sneaky about. So you don't have to spend the $129 a month, I think it is, which I believe it's too expensive. The main thing you want to look at that should give you a big red flag is when we go to the general. So for example, Marketing Sherpa, which is the link that I was trying to get before, right? We want to look down and go to the performance metrics. Whichever tool you use, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, whatever, should have a graph that looks a little bit like this, where I can see the referring domains, how many external websites are linking to them, and the organic traffic. And really, the main thing that you want to look at is this one. You see how this referring domain is growing gradually and naturally. That indicates as well that it's a pretty good website. They've done this in a natural manner throughout a couple of years. Where you need to be cautious is if you're looking at a site you want to backlink from, but if the blue, let me turn this to blue so that it makes sense. So if the backlinking data, instead of this blue up here, it just all of a sudden goes bam, and then like that, and bam, and then like that. Or just one big massive uptick all of a sudden, boom, boom. Now, it's not to say that this isn't always unnatural. Sometimes maybe they publish a really big article and they did go a little bit viral, but you'll need to find that link. But for the most part, if it's an extremely aggressive growth, then that's a big red flag and you want to watch out for that. I thought it's kind of essential for me to mention that. Okay, welcome. this is the sections on analytics. It's something that most people hate. I used to hate it, including because I was a little bit allergic to numbers, but I want to just make sure you run through the basics, the things that you should be looking at and others that you completely should ignore. And the one thing that I want you to get out of this analytics section is essentially to please avoid analysis paralysis. Throughout my years of teaching SEO and showing my clients all this sort of stuff, that's the one thing that I see an issue with when it comes to data. And when yourself, meaning a human here, is looking at the data, more data doesn't necessarily mean better decisions. Now, it does when you give it to an AI, which I'll show you how to do, but you really want to only track the numbers that you'll actually act on. And I've learned this myself. Alex Hormozi also says this, and I really, really agree with it. You want to ignore vanity numbers. And I'm going to show you a metric that I think is people get way too focused on, that is a complete vanity metric, meaning it looks good, but it means next to nothing, really. So before we get to the data that you should look at, I really want you to avoid this one data set that kind of gets me annoyed sometimes. And that data set can be called different things, but essentially it's looking at the same kind of thing. And that is domain ranking. You can also hear it as domain authority, website authority, a lot of these different things. And I want to be very clear here that that data set was created by Moz. Moz is another SEO tool. So Moz, Ahrefs, and SEMrush, even Data for SEO, they all have their own versions and they all calculate differently this domain authority or website authority. And you see websites with a really high domain authority that don't necessarily get conversions. So please do not focus on domain authority. It's not a completely useless number, but it's a vanity metric. I recommend looking at things at how many keywords you're actually ranking for and eventually your actual conversions. At the end of the day, that's the aim of the game here. It's not just looking pretty on numbers, but what does the bottom line say? And domain authority or domain ranking doesn't correlate one-to-one to your bottom line. So with that being said, let's look at the two data sets that I believe really are the ones you should be looking at. That is Google Search Console and Google Analytics. I want to make sure that we all understand the differences between those because I find that a lot of people get confused with this. Google Search Console is what your website ranks for in the Google search engine. This is the average position of your pages, your click-through rates from the search engine results page to the actual website. It's great at telling you the issues that you might have. In short, it's really how Google sees my website. Whereas Google Analytics is what your visitors do on your website, and it tells you where all the traffic is coming from to your website, not just Google. Also tells you what they are doing once they land on the page. In short here, it's what do the users do when they arrive on the website. So therefore, I think these really are the two data sets that are really important. A lot of SEO agencies, me included, by the way, used to be really kind of proud when I would increase a ranking and I would tell the client, oh, I increased your keyword ranking from 30 to 10. Great, but that doesn't really attribute to kind of results and bottom line. Not that it's useless, but sometimes we focus on the wrong kind of metrics. So let's take a quick look at Google Search Console. And I think there's a couple of things you really should be looking at. This isn't gonna be a tutorial on how to get your Google Search Console account. That's relatively easy to do. I'm gonna assume you have your Google Search Console. It's fairly easy to kind of install, so you can do research on that. But essentially, when you get to your Google Search Console account, you're gonna get an overall performance, how many pages are being indexed, yada, yada. And they've added some new tabs, which is the Insights tab, which gives you an overall view of over the past 28 days, how many clicks you've gotten, the total number of impressions, what's trending up. Really interesting to note, by the way, this page here, this is the client that we used to work for a long time ago. And we built this, this blog post for them. And this blog post is 100% AI generated, and it's generating them a lot of traffic and a lot of revenue. So I just want to make sure to kind of give you some proof here that the AI content that I showed you how to do really, really does work. Anyway, you can also see the queries to your site. Now, I think the queries here is probably the most important thing, and there's two main keywords that you want. I guess three main keywords, apologies. You really want to make sure that your top queries really should always be your brand name. Once you kind of get things going, in the beginning, that might not be the case, but if you're not ranking at all for your brand name, then there's an issue, and there's also the possibility that someone can outrank you for your own brand name. So this business is called BPC Tech, Budget PC Technology, I think, and they're ranking for the keyword. Fantastic. I'm happy with that. Good. I can also see the average position for those keywords. So they're number one for BPC Tech. Great. They're doing the right keyword. The rest are all product categories that they're ranking pretty well for. And it even tells you the position. Now, unfortunately, even this isn't an exact science, because if I'm in Australia and I search for the product RTX 4090, I think that's a computer thing, I probably won't see this exact page or the exact link in page 2. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to use that data. So there's a couple of things that we need to look at here. Like I said, three main keywords, your brand keyword, any type of product or service keyword, as well as informational keywords if you're writing blog posts. For example, if I take a look at my website, this is a informational keyword, Claude 3.5 Sonnet Prompt Engineering. I've done a blog post about the best way to prompt engineer Claude 3.5. That's an old blog as well. But going back to the one that we have been looking at, there's a couple of things also that you want to see here. And that is essentially when it goes to the pages here, sometimes this will tell you why your pages aren't being indexed. And I'm not going to go through every single one here, but if for some reason you're not getting a lot of traffic, it might be that your pages aren't being indexed. And a quick note here, just because Google crawls your site or your page does not necessarily mean that it's going to index it. And that is a whole different story on, well, how do I troubleshoot that? How do I make sure that that is being indexed? But that might give you the starting point of what's going on here. Why does Google not like my page? Now, within Google Analytics, how do I turn this data into actionable insights? What I can do is go to search results, and this is going to have a lot of data. So I just want to actually go to the past 28 days. And yeah, it's got a lot of data here. And I can download this report. I can export as a CSV file, as a Google Sheet, whatever I want. I'm going to download the CSV file of this. It should come as a compressed folder. I can open the files. And if I open that, it's going to have all these data sets. They're just CSV files of the data. Let me show you how one looks like here. It's just the date and all that sort of stuff. So it's very difficult, for me included even, to turn data into actionable insights, but thankfully we've got AI to do that. I think that's the good blend with AI and SEO. This is a Google Search Console data expert. And what you want to do is the data that we just downloaded, we're going to give to this custom GPT. We're going to wait for it to load. And this is the wonderful thing about having smart language models. We can let it do all the things we don't want to do ourselves, which is try and figure out what to do with these things. And it's thinking a lot, which it should do, and give us some actionable insights. So if you're lost to what to do with your website and how to improve it, this is a great start because it can kind of give you actionable insights. You don't go blind, you're making data-driven decisions, right? Whilst this is loading and giving us our insight, I want to look at one more thing that I recommend you look at. If you are ever lost and you don't really know on what you should be doing next month for your website or your client's website, one easy thing to do is to look at the pages. And I want you to go to average position. And then let's filter this by the top position. Hopefully. Perfect. Great. And what you want to do is make sure that, actually, let's go back. Perfect. Let's go to more rows, go to 50. And one of the easiest things to do that I think are the low-hanging fruit is any page here that you see in the position is between 9 to 10. It means that it's technically around the second page of the Google search engine results. And I think that's low-hanging fruit because it's already ranking. It's just not ranking really well. So we can go and inspect that page and see how we can amend it or how we can rank it higher. We might get some backlinks directly to that page. We might write supporting content, like I just showed you before, that links to that page. We might do a few other strategies. And the reason why that's easier, because you're starting from something that is already indexed, it's already getting some traffic, you just need to improve that. So I think it's kind of a low-hanging fruit to start doing if you don't know where to go. Let's go back to our GPT and see what it's told us here. Perfect. So low-hanging fruit, and I promise I didn't, I forgot that this GPT did this, but it's telling us low-hanging fruit right away. So positions 11 to 30. Opportunities, iPad mini, RTX 50, what to do, now not after your coffee, and it's telling you how to optimize this stuff, what exactly you should be doing, how to increase the click-through rates, the featured snippets, and hidden gems as well. So you actually have some actionable insights on what to do with this data. Right? I think it's a really handy thing to do. You can set yourself a reminder every month to kind of go through this data. It's also going to give you some insights into if your website is seasonal. For example, for BPC Tech, we understood that every time that NVIDIA released a new product, because they sell computer stuff, their search went up. So you can build strategies around that. But anyway, I digress. But your business might be seasonal as well. If you do landscaping in winter, you're probably not going to get that much business as well. And this will tell you that story, and then you can make data-driven decisions. The other thing that you should obviously look at is Google Analytics. Now, I could do probably a whole 3-hour tutorial on Google Analytics itself, but I think it's really interesting, for me anyway, finding out where the majority of the traffic is coming from. And this allows you to make good decisions because you don't only see where the traffic is coming to your website, but which traffic is higher quality, right? Just because you get a lot of traffic from TikTok, let's say, might not mean that all that traffic from TikTok is converting. You might get less traffic from, let's say, Instagram, but you find that you get more conversions. Let's find that out really quickly. So you can go to the reports, you can go to the business objectives, and we're going to go to traffic acquisition. And this is going to tell you where all your traffic is coming from. So we've got here direct and organic search. Organic search is Google. Referral, other websites linking to you. Organic shopping, unassigned, which is just doesn't have enough tracking to tell you. Paid social, so if you're running ads, organic social, paid search, and you can segment this a little bit further even. So let's go, for example, to source and medium, and this will tell you even a little bit more data. This is over the past 28 days. So perfect. So one of the referral websites, this is why we look at data, right? One of the referral websites that are getting them a lot of traffic is aupartpicker.com. So let's have a look at that website, right? Just to see, well, why they bring them a lot of traffic. And the traffic is generally really good quality. There's a lot of events. They stay around for a relatively long time. 45 seconds on average is not too bad. So let's take a look, right? What is this website all about? So it's in Australia. We know it makes sense. It's PC Part Picker. It also makes sense. So then I can probably go, okay, perfect. They help people pick their parts for their gaming PCs. Now, if I wanted to come up with recommendations for these guys, or for if they were my client again, or if I was working for them, I would reach out to PC Part Picker and say, hey, how can we work with you guys? You're getting us a lot of traffic that tends to convert. It might be a really low-hanging fruit for us to follow. So that's why we look at data. Now, depending on what data you have, it'll be really different on how you analyze it, but I just want to give you a quick understanding of that. The other thing that I think is important for you to look at is, let me see if I can find it really quickly, and that is the tech in which users are going on your website. If I go to overview in tech, I believe you'll find the main subdivision on the devices that people are using to go to your website. And I think maybe once a quarter, this is good for you to do, because it sometimes shows you what might be going wrong. For example, they've got 78% desktop. So most of the traffic comes on desktop, which makes sense. People on PC are looking for PC stuff. Then you have mobile and tablet. What might happen sometimes is that you are getting, for some reason, no conversions through desktop and more conversions through mobile. That'll indicate, I probably need to look at the mobile. There might be something wrong here. You can see that most people coming in Chrome. You might use that in your marketing. I'm not quite sure how, but you get the idea. I just want to make sure that that's why we look at the data. But again, you can see that I'm already getting a bit of analysis paralysis, that there's so much data. What do I do with this? That sometimes I think that if you're not going to use it, just do not worry about it. But there's one thing that I do want to make sure we do. Okay, perfect. I've got the device category within Google Analytics. So I'm all the way at the bottom. I'm at the tech and I'm at the tech details. I think the one piece of data that really makes sense for you to look at is the difference between the desktop and the mobile and the conversion rate. So I can see here, for example, that the engagement rate is a little bit higher on mobile, and the average user per engagement rate, so the traffic seems to be a little bit more healthy from mobile. My only reasoning, or what I would do with that, would be that, okay, I probably need to make sure that the conversion rate of the mobile is really, really good. Then I can go on the website from a mobile perspective and see where I can make some improvements. That's how I would go and use the data. And that's where I want to leave it. I don't want to complicate things too much. You can always find really good dashboards for Google Search Console, and free ones, without kind of wasting too much money on this. So the free tool that I would recommend you use is Google Looker Studio. If you want a pretty template and you don't want to spend too much money on it. This is one that I've built from our premium community, but it kind of looks like this. And in our premium community, people can have it, but it's just an overall perspective of Google Analytics and Google Search Console in the one bird's eye perspective. It's easy to see. I can see all the keywords that I'm ranking for, the landing pages, where people are coming from. So you can either look for Google GPT search, free Google Looker Studio template, or you can hire someone on Fiverr to make one for you. I can't give you this one, unfortunately. It's for the premium community, but you don't need it. Sometimes all that you need is just to understand Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And if you throw all that useful data into something like ChatGPT 5 with this custom GPT. This GPT I will leave you in the detail below, so you can still make good data-driven decisions without a pretty report. And that's it. We're not going to complicate analytics anymore. Okay, let's finish on a high note and on a very helpful and interesting note, and that is AI automations. Before we get cracking with this, just a bit of a word of warning. Just because everything can be automated doesn't mean that everything should be automated. What I mean here is that sometimes I've seen absolute horror cases of people wanting to scale and automate everything, and it just goes completely wrong because they don't get the fundamentals right of SEO. Just make sure you understand that before we move on. That being said, to automate, you're going to need automation software. And these are the main three ones that I've tried personally and I've had really good experience with. Pabbly is definitely out of the three, the easiest one to just plug and play and get started automating really cool things without any need of coding whatsoever. Make, the second one down, is probably one of the most well-known ones, at least it was, but it adds a little bit more of complexity, but it's a lot more flexible than Pabbly. It integrates with practically everything under the sun, and it's a nice and easy to use click and drag software. It's the one that I predominantly use. Now, N8N is getting really popular these days. This is open source and you can self-host it, meaning you can save hundreds and hundreds on subscription cost. It's great if you're a little bit more comfortable with coding, although it's not even that difficult. But if you want to offer automation services and scale that, then I would definitely recommend N8N. There are literally hundreds and thousands of tutorials on how to get that set up. So take your pick. But for this exact automation, we're going to use the easiest one. I want to give you the lowest friction to start this off. We're going to do a local SEO automation, and we're going to do this using some of the data that we've learned from the local SEO section. So what we're going to do is three main things. We're going to automate that for every time you upload an Instagram image to your Instagram account, that image is going to, that we're going to get that image and we're going to take it to a Google Business profile. Now you don't have to worry about uploading up to 100 images on Google Business Profile. We mentioned previously in the local SEO section that this is really good and it's going to increase your overall calls, clicks, and conversions. The next thing we're going to automate is turning your blog posts into Google Business posts. You can't just copy and paste them over because Google Business posts, they kind of need to be rewritten. You don't want to copy content. And there's also a lot less characters that you can do with a Google Business post. And then finally, we're going to automate the responding to reviews. But I want to be very clear here that I tend to be very safe here and I only reply to positive reviews with AI. The negative reviews, they need a bit of a human touch and you don't want any errors, any room for errors. So I recommend you don't do this with negative reviews. With that being said, we also need one more tool here, and that is an AI tool or really an API key. For this instance, we're going to use Open Router. This might sound a little bit scary, but trust me, it's very easy to use. And you're going to thank me later for it because this one API key will allow you to access every single large language model under the sun. You can choose the cheaper models and some open source models, some absolute free models. This is great because you only need one API key to test everything instead of having 3 different API keys if you want to try 3 different models. And these 3 automations are something that I install all the time. I used to sell this as a service and I just find the ones that really actually make a difference. So let's get started by creating an account with Open Router first. So using the link in the resources, I want you to go to Open Router. You can see it already has all the models that you can test here. I'm going to sign in. You need to create an account, obviously. Now, once you're logged in, you can test it out, and I think it's quite fun to do so. For example, I can chat here, and I can select the flagship models to see which one gives me the best response. So I can try it right away. I can use Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Grok 4, and GPT-5 to answer the classic strawberry test, for example. And if I do that, it's sending that question or that request to all 4 models right away. And then I can really determine what is best for me. Now, they all seem to know how to answer that question at least. Let's see if one of them gets it wrong. Sonnet is right, Grok is right, GPT-5 is right. That's good. They all know how to do that. So we want to go to your credits section here, and you're going to need to add some credits. $5 is more than enough here, and $5 is going to go a very, very long way, particularly with the cheap models that we're going to be using thanks to Open Router. So you want to top it up with $5 at the most. You can do the auto top up, but to add the credits, you're going to see 0 here. You're just going to buy credits. You can use your bank account or your credit card. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to let you do that. So once you have that, the other thing that you need is keys, and you want to create your own API key. You're going to have none here. What you're going to go to is create an API key. Let's call it Pabbly Automation, so you can keep track of where it's spending the credits, and I'm going to go to create. Now you really want to save this key here. That is the only time that you're going to be able to see it. So copy it and save it somewhere that you can access it later. I'm going to delete that API key so you guys can't use it. I know you wouldn't anyway, but just from a security purposes. Great. So now the next thing to do is to create an account with Pabbly. The free version is more than enough for what we're trying to do. If you really want to scale this, you might have to get the paid version. So once you sign in or you create an account, it'll look a little bit like this. And we want to go to Pabbly Connect. We're going to access that now. So it goes without saying that you need access to the Instagram account, obviously, and you need to be admin to the Google Business account. So it'll look a little bit like this. You can add the post and everything like that. That is kind of a non-negotiable. You really need that stuff. Okay, so for the first one, I recommend that you create a folder and you name it the client that we're doing this for. So I'm just going to go tutorial example. That way we can keep everything nice and organized and it doesn't just create an absolute mess further down the line. Great. Now we're going to create a workflow. Oh, it's good. I've got a new, better thing. I'm just going to go the classic because I've done this a couple of times. So you want to name it something that you're not going to forget. So we're going to go Instagram, Insta, to Google Business. If I could spell business, it would be fantastic. Tutorial example is the folder. Great. So we're already keeping everything nice and organized. Perfect. So now we want to choose a trigger, right? The starting point for the automation. We want to choose the app. In the choose app feature, I'm going to go to Instagram, and you will need to be on Instagram for business, right? Perfect. I'm going to choose the trigger event. That means when this automation starts. And I'm just going to go new media uploaded to the account. I need to connect this. You'll have to create your connection for the first time. So let's do that now. I'm going to name this here again, tutorial example, and connect with Instagram for business. You'll have this pop up here. Nothing out of the ordinary. And that's why I like this. It's just very kind of easy. So now that I'm connected, I need to select the account here. I've got a couple. I'm just going to use mine. It'll be a bit weird because I'm using my Instagram account for another business, but you get the idea. Obviously, pick the Instagram business account to the Google business account that correlates. I'm going to go save and test. Perfect. So you can see in the test that it's done, it's getting me all the information that we can pull through. We can pull the media URL link and get that later on, and a bunch of different things. That is a video. Okay, perfect. So now the next action is quite easy, right? We want to go to your Google business profile. Google business profile. We want to add an action, and here we want to upload media or photo. For this instance, I'm going to do a video because I know the latest one has been a video there. You can choose either one, it's fine. And I obviously need to connect that account. Let's go through this again. I'm going to add a new connection, and I'm going to go tutorial example. You need to sign in with Google. Great. And that's why I kind of like Pabbly, just makes things nice and easy. So now I need to choose the account. I'm going to go to my inclusion, which is the one that we're trying out for, source data. So here we're going to enter the publicly accessible URL where the media can be retrieved from. So we know that when we tested it, we actually got a bit of media, and we need the media URL, that one. So here, what we need to do is select the source media URL. And we do that by going in here and selecting all the attributes that were pulled through the Instagram post. And here is the media URL. And that is it. You can choose a category. Let's just go at work. Perfect. So now let's go and look at my inclusion stuff. So the Google business account, you can see that it's got no photos. Let's look at the photos and videos for that account. It's a very non-existent, not even a client of mine, just a friend I asked to use their account, but they've got no images whatsoever, which is perfect for this. So let's go to Pabbly, and we're going to send and test and see if everything works. And we should have gotten everything done. So let's refresh this. And you can see that now it's uploading that video. That was the last video in my Instagram account, but perfect. It's being uploaded. So you can upload images and videos. We'll give that a second and then I can show you that. But that's done. That's it. It's that easy. You can leave that on autopilot. I highly recommend this automation. The last thing we want to do is save it. And if you're happy with this whole thing, you want to make sure that it's on. So your workflow is on. It's going to trigger every time you upload a video or an image into your Instagram account. It will go to your Google business profile. Nice and easy. That's it. So this one is all done. Okay, now time for the second automation where we're going to grab your blog post when it's published, rewrite that and turn that into a Google business post. I really like this one. It's quite easy. We're going to go to create a workflow. We're going to select the classic builder. And we're going to name it correctly. So blog to Google business profile post, and we're going to put it in the right folder. We're going to create. Now, this one gets a little bit more technical, but not that much. What we want to start off with is an RSS feed. Thankfully, Pabbly give us a free one. And we're going to select new item in feed. We're going to connect. Perfect. So all you need to do for most WordPress websites, your feed is automatically built in. And the feed is your website / the feed. That is it. If you're working with something else, you're going to have to Google or GPT search where to get the feed from your website. There's other ways to build it as well, but I'm going to keep things nice and simple. Going back to our automation builder, I'm going to say here, feed URL. Perfect. And I'm going to save and test. This is going to call that feed. Essentially, Pabbly now, or the RSS feed, is asking, hey, what was your most recent published post? Give me that information, please. And we can see here the most recent published post was a URL that says, my inclusion, the benefits of therapeutic gardening. Perfect. So I've got a few other things there as well. I even have, I think, the image for this, I think. Perfect. So I've got everything that I need. The next action that I want to do is you could get a scraper to scrape the contents of that blog post. But thankfully, I think this is an easier way around this. We're actually going to use Open Router to not only crawl this, but actually also rewrite this. So here we're going to type in Open Router, and you can see that's got that selection there. We need to make sure you've action event, we're going to create a chat completion. We need to connect this. I'm going to add a new connection so I can show you here. Open router tutorial. And the token is the API key that we got before, that we created. I hope you saved that one. If not, you can create another API. Great. Chuck that token or the API key there. We're going to save that. It's going to validate it. Make sure you've got some credits and this thing's actually going to work. You'll need to place in a sitemap or any kind of website in there for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why, to be honest, but it's got to work with one of these things. Now, the models, this is very, very important. You need a model that has native access to the internet. GPT has one, but as well, my favorite is really Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine. You don't need something too difficult, but Sonar, for example, I know it has native access to the internet. So it's nice and easy. The role is going to be user. We don't need to go into a system role for this. We're not doing rocket science. It's a fairly simple prompt. Now, this is where you're going to grab one of the components that I've got ready for you. And this is a prompt, right? We're going to copy this entire prompt. We're going to go back to Pabbly, and we're going to paste that in there. You can see that we need to format it a tiny bit. And essentially what we're doing here is we are getting the Perplexity Sonar model to go to the URL, read the whole thing, understand it, and rewrite it in the same tone of voice as the blog post, but just in less than 1,500 characters so that it fits into Google Business. And there's no, I even say actually 1,450. So there's a little bit of leeway there. Let me just format this a tiny bit better. So now I can see where I need to put the URLs in here. So here, for example, I need to select the blog URL section. I need to delete that, and I need to go to the RSS feed, and I need to give it the URL. The rest you can see if you want. I'm actually going to delete these other ones. Depending on the complexity of the blog post, you might have to do that as well. Perfect. So now we have told it what to do, where the information is. Let's see if we get everything working. We're going to save and test. So ideally, it's going to read the blog post about the benefits of therapeutic gardening and rewrite it for us as well. Now, there's a few key components here. You can have a call to action within that prompt to say, read more here, whatever you want, but I'm just going to keep it nice and easy. But I'm getting the post ready for it. I'm just going to fix that a little bit. I'll make sure I give you the fixed one. It's just giving the URL here at the bottom, and I don't really want that. I'm going to save this and test it. That's a little bit better. A couple of hashtags, whatever. I don't mind that. If you don't want them, you just say in the prompt that you don't want any hashtags, but for me, it's fine. So I'm going to save that. And now we need to get that content and upload it to the Google Business Profile as a post. We're going to add one more step. We're going to choose Google. What's on your mind, Nico? Google Business Profile. The action event is going to add an action post. There's a lot of other things here, but for now, the action post is going to be enough. It's an action post only because it's a normal post and you have a CTA at the end where we'll leave a link to the blog post. Perfect. We're going to connect here. We've got it connection already. I'm going to save this. And the location name, we need to select the right account here. Inclusion, the summary, meaning the content, we give what was the output of Open Router. So that is the message content. Perfect. The action type, we want to always say learn more. And the URL that'll be connected to that call to action button needs to be the URL of the blog post. So if somebody wants to read more, they can go to the blog post. That's another little tricky way to get a little bit more traffic to those blog posts. Depending on the RSS feed, you might be able to extract the image from that as well, but we don't have it at the moment and it's no biggie. So what I want to test now is making sure that I see this at the moment. Let's see how did the video get uploaded? It's still pending, that's fine. So at the moment, there are no last posts, there's no updates, and that's where they would usually go, right? I think if I go to posts here, there might be one, yeah, the benefits of therapeutic gardening, but that was last year. So I want to do the same one here. So let's test this. Save and send request. And it looks like it's processing. Everything seems to be okay. Let's go back to the Google Business Profile. I'm going to refresh this. And there you go, 11 seconds ago, there is my post, right? And if I go to learn more, I go to the post of that URL. Perfect, so done, right? That's pretty good. Now you can leave that on autopilot and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Again, we're gonna save this and we're gonna make sure that it's on and we can go to our final workflow. So really good, you can update here a lot of things. If you prefer not your blog post, but your YouTube videos or your Instagram posts, whatever it is, whatever the source of that content you want to be, you can use that. Now let's build the final one, which is responding to positive reviews. I'm going to create that last workflow. I'm going to select that again. And this is go review, responder. I'm going to create it in the same folder and then I'm going to create. You can see how simple this tool tends to be. So now the trigger is when we receive a review. So I'm going to go again to Google Business Profile. It should allow me to select the trigger, new review. Going to connect. We've got the connection already, the tutorial example. I'm going to choose the right location. Perfect. I'm going to save and test. So let's save and test this to see if we're actually getting the reviews. Perfect. So they've got one review, so it's nice and easy. I've actually done it for this instance and perfect. We've got my inclusion, are extremely thoughtful professional that helped me out with a problem that I had. Fantastic. So I got a positive review. Great. The next action is we're going to filter whether the reviews got more than 3 stars, right? We're going to connect this again. We've got the connection done. So we need to select the label and here the star rating. So if the star rating is perfect, so now the star rating is 5, it's greater than 4, it's a success, we can keep going. And now what we want to do is create a response with a model using Open Router, the same model that we use to rewrite our blog post to a Google Business post. So we're going to grab this and go to Open Router here. And now we can really select any model that we want for this. Now for this, you don't need a specifically incredibly smart model. It's quite all right. Remember to fill out these things here. The model, I think GPT-5 Nano or Mini, all the 5s are more than enough for this. I'm just going to go Mini. You can use a free one, but remember there will be limitations for that. If you need to answer a lot of reviews, then you're going to hit a wall. So I just want to choose a very cheap one. GPT-5 Mini is very, very cheap. The user, the role, sorry, is user, the context. Now, you're going to have in the resources below a expert Google Business Review Responder template. What you want to do is to make a copy of it, and you need to fill it out. So we're going to make a copy, and we want to paste in all the things that you need. So review responder for my inclusion, a business type, so a local business that helps people navigate NDIS when it comes to hoarding and squalor services, as well as therapeutic gardening. And now here, the rest we can fill out. Beautiful. We've actually already improved this and said that if it's a negative review respond, I've done this for you actually, if it's below 3, we're going to thank the reviewer for the feedback, we're going to apologize, and then we're going to state one proactive step. So contact us at this number, please, so we can fix the review. And I've actually, now that I remember, I do this quite a lot, so I'm going to leave it there. Contact email. I'm going to go info at my inclusion. And the phone number, I'm just going to, these are all fake, by the way. Just create a random phone number. Perfect. So now what I need to do is copy this prompt. I'm going to go back to review responder. The context, I'm going to paste that in there, and I'm going to paste the review text. Let me format this a little bit better. Great. Now I just need to fill out a couple of things. So when I go to review text, I need to delete that, and I need to get the review text from Google Business Review. Here it is, the comment. Perfect. The star rating. Now I don't even have to worry about the filtering. I can just do the star rating here and go 5. And I believe that is everything I need to do. Respond to email. Yeah, I filled everything out. Perfect. So you can even delete this and not have to worry about it. But now you know how to filter. So I'm actually going to leave this in the tutorial. Okay. So now we're creating the response to that review. We're not uploading it yet. You can do more sequences here. You can get the response to go to a Google Sheet first so you can read it and make sure you're happy with it before. Be very careful here. This is one of these things that you don't want to get wrong. Let's see the response here. Thank you for your kind review. We're glad we helped your situation. Best regards, Alice. Perfect. Alice is the fake person name that I put in there. Great. So now what we're going to do here is the next step, which is uploading that into Google Business Profile as a response. So we're going to go to Google Business Profile. We're going to set an action. We're going to create a reply. That's the bottom one. We don't want to use the legacy one. We're going to connect. Save. Account ID, we want to choose the right account. Inclusion. And it'll automatically pick the latest review, which is what you want, and then your reply there. We need to pick the mapping from the response that OpenRoute has given us. Fantastic, great. So let's check this out. Let's go to my inclusion. Let's go to the reviews here. And we see that it's the review, hopefully, that I've done. Perfect for myself. I can see the whole review. That was 9 minutes ago. So I just did it now for this instance. Great. Let's go to the Pabbly. Let's send and test. I'm going to give it a minute. Everything looks pretty good. Let's go back to the Google Business Profile. Let's refresh this bad boy. And there you go. We've already got the response. Perfect, right? So the way that you respond to the reviews, just be cautious with those. Go through the prompt that I provided. If you need to change it, please do. But yeah, now we're kind of automating that so you don't really have to worry about that. So we went through the automations of uploading an Instagram image when you upload to Instagram automatically to Google Business Profile. We know that's really good for interaction and getting more leads. The same thing with automating a blog post to a Google Business Post with a call to action. And then we are responding to reviews, both negative and positive now. As a plus, I'll leave that in there. That's quite all right. Well done for getting all this way. I can promise that if you follow all the things that I teach you, you're going to be very, very successful when it comes to ranking in the AI overviews, GPT search, and Perplexity, the new world of SEO. I just want to leave you with a couple of reminders. As mentioned, all the assets that I mentioned in this video will be in our free community. It'll be the first link in the video description below. There's also some extra helpful assets that'll be really good for your SEO, so you want to make sure you check that out. And if you want more, I recommend you check out our premium community, AI Ranking, where you get a lot of things, including 2 weekly Q&As with myself and other industry experts, so we can give you live feedback on your strategy and your website. You get an onboarding call with myself, so I can provide you with some niche advice with your website and give you an actionable plan. You get full-time support, updated tutorials, prompts, the lot, plus we also bring other additional experts into the community to give conversations, so you're not just learning from me. And you can try this out risk-free for 7 days, meaning if you don't like it, just send me a DM and I'll refund you 100% personally. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like these type of free videos. I'll see you in the next one.